Welcome to Zoe Stories. From husband to wife. My name is Daniel, though most people only know me as the mild-mannered husband of Isabella, the brilliant and sometimes intimidating woman I married 3 years ago. On the surface, my life is orderly. A stable career as a marketing consultant, a tidy apartment in the city, and a relationship that, by all appearances, seems picture-perfect. But beneath that polished exterior lies a secret I've guarded for years, a hidden desire, a world I step into when the doors close and the apartment is quiet. It started innocently, years before Isabella and I even met. I'd find myself lingering in the women's clothing sections at department stores, marveling at the textures, the colors, the curves and details in fabrics designed to accentuate femininity. I would take home small items in secret, tucking them away, convincing myself it was curiosity, experimentation, nothing more. But the truth was deeper. I longed to explore the other side of myself, to embrace a version of Daniel that was softer, more sensual, and profoundly feminine. By the time I met Isabella, this part of me had become a ritual, a private escape. I would wait for her trips or late nights at work, slipping into dresses, wigs, and heels, transforming in front of the mirror until I barely recognized the reflection. The thrill of becoming someone else, someone daring, bold, and delicate, was intoxicating. Every touch of fabric, every brush of lipstick, every snap of a heel on the hardwood floor made me feel alive in ways my everyday life never did. Our apartment had become my stage, the bathroom mirror my spotlight. Isabella adored elegance and fashion in her own right, but she had never stumbled upon my secret. That was my choice, my risk, my private world hidden behind a facade of domestic normalcy. I knew the danger of discovery, yet the temptation, the adrenaline, the pleasure, the fulfillment, was too strong to resist. Isabella, intelligent and intuitive, had a presence that could be both comforting and intimidating. She carried herself with confidence, expecting the best from everyone around her, especially from me. I loved her for it, but it also made me nervous. What would happen if she found out? Could she accept this hidden part of her husband? Could I survive the embarrassment, the judgment, the inevitable questions? It was a quiet Sunday morning when my routine began to shift. Isabella had left early for a client brunch, insisting I stay home and relax. Normally, this would have been my signal to indulge in my secret persona, try on a new dress, experiment with makeup, test my latest pair of heels. But today, a letter lay on the kitchen counter, marked with my name in a flowing, feminine script. Curiosity prickled at me. I picked it up carefully, feeling the weight of unknown consequences in my hands. The envelope contained only a single note and a small, delicate key. The note read, "Daniel, if you truly wish to understand yourself, follow the key's path." A friend. My pulse raced. Who could this be? How did they know? And more dangerously, what did they mean by the key's path? Even as fear tightened its grip, excitement surged. A thrill I hadn't felt in years coursed through me. Perhaps this was the universe offering me an opportunity, daring me to cross a boundary I had always skirted but never fully embraced. Part of me trembled at the thought of stepping further into this secret world, fully visible, fully exposed, yet another part of me, a part one had long denied, thrived on the anticipation. I tucked the note into my pocket and glanced at the closet where my hidden wardrobe lay. The dresses, heels, and accessories awaited, silent and patient, like loyal companions to a ritual I had performed countless times. Today, however, felt different. There was a tension in the air, a subtle shift that whispered promises of transformation and danger. I poured a cup of coffee, hands trembling slightly, and gazed at the city outside. The morning sun glinted off the skyscrapers, but the warmth did little to calm the storm inside me. Today, I realized, was not just another indulgence in my secret life. Today, I would step beyond the familiar, beyond the comfortable, and test the limits of who I was and who I could become. The decision settled in my chest like a heartbeat I couldn't ignore. I would follow the key's path. I would embrace the transformation fully. And as my fingers brushed the delicate fabrics of a new dress, a deep crimson number with a flowing hem and intricate lace, I felt the first flutter of exhilaration and fear intertwining. This was more than cross-dressing. This was a journey into the deepest, most vulnerable corners of myself. I whispered to the empty apartment, half to myself, half to the reflection in the mirror. If I do this, I can't turn back. And with that, I began to change. Slowly, deliberately, I shed the identity of Daniel the husband and began stepping into the persona that had long been trapped behind closed doors. The feel of silky fabric against my skin, the tight embrace of the dress, the click of heels against the floor, it all combined into a sensation both terrifying and electrifying. I caught my reflection in the mirror and froze. This was me, undeniably, and yet not me. Vulnerable, daring, and completely transformed. The morning stretched on as I practiced my posture, my voice, the sway of my hips, imagining Isabella walking through the door at any moment. The risk of discovery amplified every sensation, the thrill of secrecy, the tension of potential exposure, and the intoxicating freedom of being someone else. By the time the sunlight shifted across the room, I realized that today marked the beginning of a journey I could never have imagined. The letter, the key, the hidden wardrobe, it had all led me here, from husband to wife, from secrecy to revelation, and from fear to exhilaration. And as I paused to take one last look at myself in the mirror, I whispered again, "No one can stop this, not now. Not ever." The key in my hand felt heavy, almost alive, as though it carried its own will, demanding I use it. I didn't know what door it unlocked, or what rules awaited me beyond it, but every nerve in my body pulsed with anticipation. I had crossed lines before, hidden behind fabric, wigs, and makeup, but this felt different. Dangerous. Exhilarating. I opened the drawer where my hidden wardrobe lay. Each piece was familiar, yet today they seemed charged with possibility. A crimson dress caught my eye, satin, soft, almost liquid in its texture, with delicate lace tracing the neckline. I hesitated, imagining Isabella seeing me like this. The thought made my chest tighten, part fear, part thrill. Could she ever accept this side of me? Could anyone? Still, the pull was irresistible. I picked up the dress, feeling the weight of it in my hands, the fabric brushing against my fingers like whispered promises. I began the ritual of transformation, removing the clothes I had worn just moments ago, setting them aside, as though shedding one identity for another. My skin tingled under the touch of the dress as I pulled it over my shoulders, feeling it mold perfectly to my body. Next came the heels. I selected a pair of black stilettos, elegant but unforgiving. Sliding my feet into them, I felt the tension in my calves and the strain on my balance. But along with that came a thrill I couldn't ignore. The sharp click against the floor, the sway of my hips as I practiced walking, each step reinforcing the persona I was becoming. Then the wig. Dark, glossy, cascading in waves down my shoulders. I placed it carefully, adjusting until it framed my face perfectly. Makeup came last, every stroke deliberate. Foundation to even the skin, eyeliner to sharpen the eyes, lipstick to give life to the lips. As the transformation solidified, I caught my reflection in the mirror. The man I had been moments ago seemed distant, almost unreal. What stared back at me was something new, fragile, and electric, fully feminine, fully exposed, and entirely captivating. I ran my fingers along my cheeks, tracing the contours of my new face. The sensation was foreign, thrilling, yet terrifying. I had done this many times, but today it felt like stepping over a line I couldn't return from. The secret that had been my escape had become a challenge, a daring exploration of identity, and an unspoken test of courage. A sudden thought struck me. What if someone saw me now? What if Isabella returned early? My pulse quickened at the idea. The risk of exposure intensified every sensation, every movement, every breath. The excitement and the fear merged, sharp and intoxicating, creating a tension I couldn't ignore. I practiced my posture, my walk, the tilt of my head. Each adjustment made me more convincing, more confident, yet more vulnerable. Every click of the heels against the floor reminded me of how fragile my secret truly was. And yet, I couldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. The letter, the key, and the wardrobe had led me here for a reason. It wasn't just about indulgence anymore. It was about testing limits, exploring desires, and confronting fears I had hidden even from myself. With every step, I felt the persona solidify. Daniel was receding, and something new, something feminine, daring, and intoxicating, was rising in its place. I paused and caught my reflection again. The dress clung to curves I had never acknowledged, the heels forced a sway in my hips I had only imagined, and the wig framed a face that could not be denied. My hands trembled slightly as I touched my lips, feeling the lipstick beneath my fingers, and I realized I was no longer playing pretend. I had crossed a threshold. But just as the thrill washed over me, doubt crept in. What if I had gone too far? What if Isabella never understood? What if this secret, which had always been mine to control, slipped beyond my grasp? The fear was sharp, almost paralyzing, but it only made the exhilaration stronger. I wanted to push further, to see how far I could take this transformation, and to explore the reactions of those around me. I tried a few steps in the heels, feeling the delicate balance shift with each movement. The dress swirled around my legs, the lace brushing my skin, and I imagined Isabella walking in. Her sharp eyes would notice everything, the curves, the posture, the confidence, and I felt a mix of dread and desire. Would she accept me? Would she tease me? Or would she recoil, judging the hidden parts of me I had worked so hard to explore in secret? Every movement was a negotiation between fear and thrill. The weight of the heels, the sway of the hips, the soft fabric against my skin, they were both a challenge and a temptation. I practiced gestures, expressions, the tilt of my head, all to perfect the persona I had long cherished in private. And yet, the letter and the key remained in my pocket, silent reminders that this was no ordinary indulgence. There was a purpose, a path I had yet to discover, and the unknown stretched ahead like a tightrope I was daring to cross. I caught my reflection one last time before moving toward the unknown. The transformation was complete, both in body and in spirit. The thrill of secrecy had shifted into something more profound, courage, curiosity, and a daring desire to see just how far this journey could take me. Every click of the heels, every brush of the dress, every touch of the makeup reminded me that I was no longer just a husband hiding a secret. I was stepping into a new identity, one that demanded risk, exploration, and complete surrender. And with that realization, I took my first deliberate steps toward a transformation that would change everything: myself, my marriage, and my world. With the crimson dress hugging my frame and heels forcing each step to deliberate perfection, I moved toward the mirror again, studying my reflection with a mix of fascination and fear. This was no longer a casual indulgence. Every detail mattered. The tilt of my chin, the arch of my eyebrows, the sway of my hips as I shifted my weight. I could feel the persona solidifying, almost as if the fabric and makeup were shaping me from the outside in, molding me into someone new and unrecognizable. I ran my fingers along the hem of the dress, tracing the delicate lace, as if to anchor myself. But my mind raced with questions I couldn't answer. How far could I push this? Could I truly become this person in the eyes of others? Or was this only a private illusion? The thought of someone seeing me like this made my chest tighten. It was intoxicating and terrifying all at once. I practiced walking again, each step a test of balance and confidence. The heels made my legs ache, but that pain carried a strange pleasure, a reminder that every inch of this transformation was earned, deliberate. I imagined Isabella entering the room at that moment. What would she think? Admire me? Be horrified? The uncertainty made every movement sharper, more electric. Then my thoughts shifted to the letter and the key. They weren't merely a prompt, they were a challenge. Someone wanted me to go further, to explore this hidden part of myself in ways I hadn't dared. A thrill ran down my spine. What would happen if I accepted the challenge completely? What doors would I open, literally and metaphorically, if I followed the instructions that had been left for me? I turned toward the closet, pulling out a few accessories I had never dared to try before: a delicate necklace, a pair of dangling earrings, and a small clutch purse. Each item added weight, detail, and realism to my transformation. I fastened the necklace around my neck, feeling the cold metal against my skin. The earrings brushed my shoulders with every movement, reminding me of the persona I had constructed and the stakes involved in revealing it. I moved carefully, practicing gestures in front of the mirror. Every flick of the wrist, every tilt of the head, every smile had to be perfect. The persona wasn't just about clothing, it was about presence. I had to inhabit it fully, or risk shattering the illusion and exposing myself, not only to Isabella but potentially to anyone who might witness me unexpectedly. The thrill of secrecy intertwined with fear. My heart raced as I considered every possibility. What if someone knocked at the door? What if a neighbor or colleague showed up unexpectedly? The thought sent adrenaline surging through me. The danger made every sensation sharper. The swish of the dress, the pressure of the heels, the weight of the wig. I was acutely aware of every inch of my transformed body, every detail a test of my courage and control. I tried a few different expressions, each one a subtle adjustment to test how convincing I could be. Confidence, poise, allure. They were all aspects of a performance that had never existed in public before. The mirror reflected a woman who was both familiar and alien, someone I had created in secret and was now forced to confront with reality. My mind wandered to Isabella again. The thought of her seeing me, fully transformed, was both terrifying and thrilling. Would she laugh, scold, or simply stare in stunned silence? I realized that the stakes were higher than I had ever imagined. This was no longer a personal indulgence, it was a psychological gamble, a test of intimacy and trust. I practiced walking across the room again, this time focusing on fluidity. The sway of my hips, the precision of each step, the balance required by the heels. It was a dance, a performance, and a test of endurance all at once. The physical strain was real, but the psychological thrill was even stronger. I was stepping into a version of myself that demanded courage, control, and audacity. Then I heard it, a faint creak in the hallway. My body froze, heart pounding. The sound could be anything, a shift in the floorboards, a distant noise, but in my heightened state, it became a trigger, a reminder of vulnerability. I gripped the edge of the dresser, steadying myself, imagining what would happen if someone walked in now. Could I maintain the persona? Could I hide the man beneath the dress, or would my secret be exposed in a heartbeat? The fear only sharpened my focus. I moved deliberately, adjusting the necklace, brushing a lock of hair from my face, perfecting the sway of my hips. Every motion was a rehearsal for a moment I couldn't predict, but had to be ready for. The persona I had created demanded full commitment, and hesitation could betray me in an instant. I glanced at the key again, now resting on the counter. It was small, unassuming, but it carried a weight far beyond its size. Following its path meant venturing into the unknown, testing limits I had never dared to approach. And yet I couldn't resist. The thrill, the curiosity, the longing to explore my secret fully, these forces propelled me forward despite the fear. As I practiced one last walk in heels, imagining every possible interruption, I realized something profound. This was no longer about cross-dressing for private pleasure. This was a transformation in identity, a confrontation with fear, and an exploration of desire that had always been suppressed. The stakes were higher than ever, and the consequences, should I be discovered, could change everything. And yet, for the first time, I felt ready. The persona was fully formed, the physical transformation complete, and the psychological preparation underway. I could not turn back, not without sacrificing the thrill, the self-discovery, and the daring freedom I had been chasing for years. The path was set, the challenge laid before me, and I knew that the next step, whatever it would be, would define the rest of my journey from husband to wife. The dress clung to my form like a second skin, every movement reminding me how fully I had embraced this transformation. I could feel the subtle power of my new persona coursing through me, the sway of my hips, the careful tilt of my shoulders, the way my heels forced my steps into deliberate elegance. Yet alongside that power, a tension simmered. Each sensation was amplified by the knowledge that I was on the edge, vulnerable to discovery at any moment. I moved in front of the mirror, tracing the contours of my reflection. The woman staring back was both thrilling and fragile, a combination I had never fully experienced before. Every detail mattered. The way the fabric hugged my curves, the curl of my hair framing my face, the gloss on my lips catching the light. I practiced subtle expressions, little gestures that made the persona convincing, commanding attention even in isolation. A shiver ran down my spine as I imagined Isabella walking in unexpectedly. I had rehearsed this scenario countless times in my head, but imagining her reaction made my pulse quicken. Would she tease me gently, intrigued by my hidden desires? Or would shock and judgment replace the intimacy we shared? The uncertainty made the thrill sharper, every movement more deliberate, more calculated. I reached for a pair of earrings, small and sparkling, their weight a delicate reminder that every accessory amplified the persona. Sliding them onto my ears, I felt the subtle shift of identity, an external signal of something deeper, something private now becoming tangible. I caught myself in the mirror again, practicing a tilt of my head, a subtle smile, imagining how each gesture might be perceived. Then the heels. Every step was a test of balance and endurance. The strain on my calves, the pressure on my toes, the rhythm of each click against the floor, it all demanded attention, focus, and commitment. The physical challenge was thrilling. The fear of someone walking in added a rush that was almost addictive. I walked across the room again, each step building confidence, yet underscoring my vulnerability. My mind wandered back to the key, resting on the counter. It was more than metal. It was an invitation, a challenge, a reminder that my journey was not just about clothing or appearance. It was about daring to explore the limits of my desires, of my identity, of what I could risk for the thrill of complete transformation. And with every careful step, I felt that challenge pressing closer. I practiced gestures, small movements that conveyed elegance and confidence. A flick of the wrist, a tilt of the chin, a gentle arch of the eyebrows. These were tools of the persona, subtle cues that made the transformation believable. The reflection in the mirror grew more convincing with each practice, but the tension inside me also grew. What if I made a mistake? What if someone saw? Or worse, what if Isabella arrived early and discovered the truth? I couldn't stop. The adrenaline had become addictive, intertwined with fear and exhilaration. Every brush of fabric against my skin, every click of heels, every adjustment of makeup reminded me that I was fully exposed, even if no one else was watching. The private thrill had become public in my mind, and the imagined scrutiny heightened every sensation. Then a sudden sound made me freeze, a distant knock, soft but unmistakable. My heart leapt, my pulse spiked. Was it Isabella? A neighbor? Someone else entirely? The uncertainty sharpened every feeling. The weight of the heels, the brush of the dress, the tightness of the wig. I gripped the edge of the dresser, grounding myself, and forced my breath to steady. The knock came again, deliberate and closer this time. I realized then that the thrill and fear were inseparable. The danger of discovery made every sensation more vivid, every movement more significant. I couldn't retreat. I couldn't hide. I had to inhabit this persona fully, embrace the transformation completely, and face whatever challenge was coming next. I moved cautiously toward the door, heels clicking softly against the floor, fabric whispering with each step. The key felt heavy in my pocket, a reminder of the unknown path I had chosen. Whoever, or whatever, was on the other side of the door would encounter not Daniel the husband, but the persona I had crafted in secret, confident, feminine, and audacious. My reflection caught my eye again, and I paused. The woman in the mirror was not a disguise. She was a version of me that had always existed, waiting for permission to emerge. The dress, the heels, the wig, the makeup, they were not just tools. They were symbols of courage, exploration, and vulnerability. And now, facing potential exposure, I felt both terrified and empowered in equal measure. I reached for the letter one last time, tracing the flowing script with trembling fingers. Follow the key's path. I understood now that this was more than a metaphor. Every choice, every step, every movement was part of the path. And the next moment, whoever stood beyond the door would test me in ways I couldn't anticipate. I steadied myself, adjusting the dress one final time, running a finger along my lips to check the makeup, and taking a deep breath. The persona was complete, the transformation total, and the suspense unbearable. The thrill of secrecy had become a test, a challenge that demanded courage and audacity. And then the knock, sharp, insistent, pulled me fully into the present. I realized that the journey from husband to wife was no longer private. The challenge was real. The stakes were high, and nothing could prepare me for what awaited on the other side of the door. The knock at the door echoed in my chest, making every nerve in my body tighten. I could feel the tension radiating from my heels up through my legs, the dress clinging tightly as if it were a second skin, amplifying every heartbeat. I wasn't just nervous. I was on the edge of exposure, caught between desire and fear. Slowly, I walked toward the door, each step a careful negotiation with the heels, the swish of the dress a constant reminder that I was inhabiting a persona that demanded attention. My hand hovered over the doorknob, trembling slightly. Whoever was outside would see more than just Daniel. They would see the persona I had painstakingly created, every detail perfected in secret. I turned the key in the lock, holding my breath, imagining the reaction before even opening the door. And then I saw her. Not Isabella, not a neighbor, but my sister-in-law, Victoria, standing there with a mischievous glint in her eyes. She smiled, seemingly oblivious to the tension radiating from me. "Daniel," she said, her voice teasing, "is Isabella home?" I froze. Her gaze swept over me, lingering on the crimson dress, the heels, the wig, the subtle sparkle of makeup I had perfected. My chest tightened, my mind raced. How much had she noticed? Would she keep the secret, or use it to humiliate me? The thrill and fear collided, sharp and intense. No," I managed, my voice faltering slightly as I struggled to maintain composure. My fingers gripped the doorknob like a lifeline. She went out. Victoria's smile widened, and she stepped inside before I could protest, her eyes scanning the room. Every movement felt magnified under her gaze. The persona I had created now faced its first real test. Could I maintain the illusion, the balance, the confidence under scrutiny? She tilted her head, her eyes studying me. "You're different," she said slowly, as if savoring the observation. Her words sent a shiver down my spine. Different? Was it admiration? Amusement? Judgment? The uncertainty was maddening, intensifying every sensation I felt. The pressure of the heels, the cling of the dress, the weight of the wig, and the softness of the makeup against my skin. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my voice. "I just wanted to try something new." Victoria's lips curved into a knowing smile. "Oh, and you look very convincing." She moved closer, her presence overwhelming, her eyes scanning every detail. My heart raced. Every instinct screamed caution, yet a part of me thrilled at the attention, the validation. I felt the balance of the heels shift slightly under the tension. One misstep could reveal everything, and I realized that maintaining this persona required more than just clothing and makeup. It required poise, timing, and nerve. I straightened my shoulders, lifted my chin, and forced a small, confident smile, hoping it conveyed composure rather than panic. Victoria chuckled softly, as if enjoying a private joke at my expense, or perhaps sharing in my secret without revealing it. "You're brave," she said. "Not everyone could pull this off." The words sent a surge of adrenaline through me. Brave? Was I brave or reckless? The thrill of being seen, The fear of exposure and the intoxicating power of inhabiting this persona all collided inside me. I realized that this challenge was not just about maintaining appearances, it was about confronting the tension between desire and danger. I moved slightly, testing the heels under pressure, feeling the swish of the dress, the subtle weight of the necklace and earrings. Each element of the persona was being scrutinized, and I had to perform flawlessly. Victoria's gaze was relentless yet playful, forcing me to inhabit every detail of the persona I had created. Her laughter, light and teasing, broke some of the tension, but it also heightened the stakes. She wasn't here to scold or punish. She was here to observe, to challenge, to test my confidence. And in that challenge, I found a strange thrill, an acknowledgement that the persona I had hidden in secret could hold its own under scrutiny. I straightened again, moving closer to a chair to steady myself. Every click of the heels, every sway of the hips, every tilt of the head had to be perfect. One misstep could ruin the illusion. One faltered movement could betray Daniel beneath the dress. Yet the thrill of testing myself, of stepping fully into this identity under pressure, was intoxicating. Victoria finally stepped back, her smile widening. "Well, I'll leave you to practice." Her eyes lingered for a moment longer, a silent acknowledgement of the persona I had embraced. She turned and left, closing the door behind her. I exhaled sharply, the adrenaline slowly ebbing, leaving a mix of relief and exhilaration in its wake. The first external challenge had been survived, but the experience had intensified every sensation: the thrill of secrecy, the fear of exposure, and the intoxicating pleasure of inhabiting a persona I had long hidden. I glanced at the mirror again. The reflection was no longer just a disguise. It was a version of myself that demanded courage, performance, and audacity. And I realized that every challenge ahead would push me further, testing not only my ability to maintain appearances, but also my willingness to embrace this transformation fully, no matter the risk. The door clicked shut behind Victoria, leaving me alone, but the tension she had left lingered like electricity in the air. My heels still clicked against the floor as I moved toward the mirror, testing the sway of my hips, the tilt of my shoulders, the subtle smile I had practiced so meticulously. Each motion was no longer just a rehearsal, it was a declaration. I was inhabiting this persona fully, despite every nerve screaming caution. I ran my fingers along the lace of the crimson dress, feeling the fabric brush against my skin like a whisper. The dress wasn't just clothing anymore, it was armor, a symbol of daring, and a boundary between who I had been and who I was becoming. My reflection stared back at me, unyielding, confident, yet undeniably vulnerable. I could no longer see Daniel hiding beneath. He had become a part of this transformation, inseparable from the persona I was embodying. Fear and excitement twisted inside me, making my pulse pound. Every sound in the apartment, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the soft creak of the floorboards, felt magnified, as if the space itself were holding its breath, waiting to see what I would do next. I imagined Isabella walking through that door, her eyes taking in every detail, every curve, every sway of the hips. The thought made my stomach tighten, but also ignited a rush of exhilaration that I couldn't ignore. I picked up the small clutch I had prepared earlier, adjusting the strap over my shoulder. The weight was both real and symbolic, a reminder that every choice, every accessory, every step was a piece of the persona I had meticulously constructed. I moved deliberately, testing gestures, expressions, the tilt of my chin, the arch of my eyebrows, all to ensure that I could maintain this illusion under any circumstance. Then my gaze fell on the key, lying on the counter like a silent command. I had carried it through this journey, unaware of exactly where it would lead, yet trusting in its unseen guidance. It was a challenge, a promise, and a warning. Every step I had taken, every moment of transformation, had been in preparation for what the key symbolized, the next stage of testing my limits. A sudden noise outside the door made me freeze. My heart leapt, adrenaline surging through my veins. I imagined Isabella, returning unexpectedly, or a neighbor curious about the sound. The fear of exposure made every sensation sharper. The tightness of the dress, the precarious balance of the heels, the weight of the wig. Each moment of vulnerability intensified the thrill, and I realized that I was addicted to the tension, to the intoxicating edge of being seen while hiding my true self. I practiced walking across the room again, each step deliberate, controlled, yet flowing. The clicks of the heels echoed, rhythmic and commanding, a physical manifestation of the persona I had embraced. The dress swirled around my legs, brushing my skin, heightening every sensation of femininity and exposure. The persona demanded courage, and every movement was a negotiation with fear itself. Then came the thought that had haunted me throughout this journey. What if Isabella never accepted this side of me? What if the secret I had nurtured and explored in private became a wedge between us? The anxiety threatened to unbalance me, but I forced it down, channeling it into poise, into confidence, into performance. The stakes were higher than ever, and hesitation was a luxury I could not afford. I moved to the mirror again, tracing the contours of my face, the sweep of my hair, the shimmer of the lipstick. I practiced subtle expressions, imagining the reactions of anyone who might see me. Confidence had to mask vulnerability, allure had to conceal fear. The persona was no longer optional, it was survival, performance, and self-assertion all at once. A knock at the door jolted me. Not soft, teasing, like Victoria's, but insistent, deliberate. My heart hammered as I considered the possibilities. Each scenario flashed through my mind. Isabella returning, a neighbor discovering my secret, an unexpected visitor. I felt the full weight of the suspense, the consequences of exposure pressing down on me. I adjusted the dress, smoothed my hair, checked the alignment of the heels, and steadied my breath. Every detail mattered now more than ever. The persona I had cultivated in secrecy was about to be tested under real pressure. The stakes were no longer abstract. They were immediate, tangible, and terrifyingly thrilling. I glanced at the mirror one last time, seeing not just a reflection but a declaration. This was no longer a disguise or a fantasy. This was identity, courage, and desire intertwined. I was no longer just Daniel hiding a secret. I was inhabiting a persona that demanded acknowledgement, both from myself and from anyone who dared to witness it. The knock came again, sharper, echoing through the room. I realized that the moment had arrived, the first true challenge of my journey from husband to wife. Everything I had practiced, every sensation I had mastered, every fear I had confronted would be tested. And with that realization, a thrill unlike any I had experienced surged through me. The persona I had built, the transformation I had embraced, was ready to confront the world. I took a deep, steadying breath, adjusted the dress one final time, and prepared to answer the door. The suspense, the fear, the thrill, all had converged. The next step would define everything, the limits of my transformation, the courage of my identity, and the delicate balance between exposure and empowerment. The insistent knock at the door reverberated through my chest. Every nerve in my body screamed alert, my pulse racing, the heels pressing into my calves like sharp reminders of the persona I now fully embodied. I straightened the dress, smoothed the wig, and took a deep breath. The moment had arrived, the first real confrontation with the outside world while I was fully transformed. With trembling fingers, I reached for the doorknob. My reflection in the mirror caught my eye for a fleeting second. The woman staring back was confident, poised, almost fearless, but I knew better. Beneath the elegance was Daniel, heart hammering, mind racing, terrified of exposure, yet unable to resist the thrill. I turned the knob, and the door swung open. It was Isabella. My breath caught. Her expression was unreadable, a mix of surprise, curiosity, and something I couldn't quite place. My heels clicked against the floor as I shifted my weight, trying to appear composed, but every movement betrayed the tension coiled within me. Daniel, her voice trailed, soft but charged, as she stepped closer. Her eyes swept over the crimson dress, the swaying hips, the meticulous makeup, the subtle shimmer of jewelry. I felt exposed, yet electrified, caught in the collision of fear and exhilaration. Hi, I managed, my voice faltering under the weight of her gaze. Her lips curved into a slow, deliberate smile. "This is different," she said, her tone a mixture of amusement and wonder. She tilted her head, examining every detail of my transformation, and I could feel my pulse spike with both anticipation and dread. I shifted slightly, testing the balance of my heels, the sway of my hips. Every gesture had to be precise, controlled, believable. One misstep could shatter the persona, revealing Daniel beneath the woman I had become. I felt the adrenaline heighten every sense, the rustle of the dress, the pressure of the heels, the weight of the wig, the slight brush of makeup against my skin. Isabella moved closer, her presence overwhelming, yet intoxicating. "You really went all out," she said softly, almost to herself. The thrill of her acknowledgement sent shivers down my spine. Fear and excitement collided, creating a tension so sharp it was almost painful. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my voice and my body. I wanted to try something new, I admitted, every word heavy with vulnerability and courage. Her gaze softened, but the curiosity remained. "And you look incredible." Her compliment sent a surge of warmth and confidence through me, but it also amplified the stakes. She was seeing me fully, without pretense, and every reaction, every judgment, could alter the delicate balance of our relationship. The persona I had created was no longer private. It was on display, under scrutiny, and I had to maintain it flawlessly. Then the unexpected happened. A sudden knock came from the apartment next door, muffled but distinct. The sound jolted me, a reminder that exposure could come from anywhere. My heart raced, and I felt the weight of every detail, the dress, the heels, the wig, the makeup, pressing down with the possibility of discovery. Isabella noticed my reaction. "Someone's at the door?" she asked, eyebrow arched, intrigued by the tension she could feel radiating from me. I nodded subtly, trying to maintain composure. "Yes, I think it's a neighbor." My words felt weak, but I forced a steady tone, determined to keep the persona intact. She studied me, her eyes narrowing slightly, as if weighing every gesture, every flicker of emotion. "And you're handling this well?" she asked, teasing yet probing. I shifted my weight carefully, heels clicking, dress swishing, every motion deliberate. I think so," I said, though the truth was that every instinct screamed caution. The persona was tested under real pressure now, and the fear of exposure only heightened the thrill. Then Isabella stepped closer, close enough that I could feel her presence like a physical force. "You're braver than I imagined," she whispered, almost conspiratorially. The words struck me with the full force of validation and danger simultaneously. The thrill of being seen, fully transformed, while maintaining control, was addictive and terrifying all at once. Suddenly, the knock from next door came again, louder this time. The apartment felt smaller, the tension in the air thickening. My heart pounded, and I realized that the next moments would define everything. Could I maintain the persona under scrutiny? Could I balance fear, excitement, and vulnerability while facing potential exposure? I adjusted the dress, ran a trembling hand along the wig, and took a deep breath. The persona was fully formed, the transformation complete, and the stakes higher than ever. This was no longer a rehearsal or private indulgence. This was performance, courage, and identity converging in a single, intense moment. Isabella's gaze met mine, steady, curious, and unyielding. "I need to know, how far are you willing to go?" she asked softly, the question hanging in the air, charged with possibility. Her words echoed in my mind, amplifying both fear and exhilaration. How far? How far could I go in embracing this persona, in risking exposure, in surrendering fully to the transformation? The answer was unclear, but I knew one thing. The next step would define everything: the persona, the secret, the thrill, and the relationship I held so dear. And in that charged silence, with my heels clicking softly against the floor, the dress swaying with every subtle motion, and my reflection staring back from the mirror, I realized that there was no turning back. The journey from husband to wife had entered its most dangerous, exhilarating phase yet. The knock at the neighboring apartment grew louder, more insistent, echoing through the walls of our home like a warning. My pulse thundered in my ears, and I felt the tightness of the heels bite into my calves. Every swish of the dress against my thighs felt magnified, each motion betraying my nervous energy. The thrill of transformation was now tangled with the fear of discovery. Isabella's gaze never left me. Her eyes seemed to read every thought, every hesitation. "Do you want me to answer it?" she asked, voice calm but teasing, as if testing my resolve. I shook my head quickly, forcing a small, composed smile. "No, I can handle it." But inside, every nerve screamed alarm. My hands trembled slightly as I adjusted the dress, smoothed the wig, and shifted my weight in the heels. This was no longer just a private indulgence. It had become a test of courage, poise, and control under pressure. The knock intensified, followed by a muffled voice calling my name. I froze. Whoever it was, they were persistent, determined to get attention, oblivious to the tension building inside. My mind raced through options. Could I hide, deflect, or bluff? Each possibility carried risks. Isabella stepped closer, her presence grounding yet electrifying. "They're not going to leave," she murmured, her lips curving into a knowing smile. "Are you ready?" I took a deep breath, trying to steady the quiver in my voice. I think so." The words felt heavy, as if admitting them out loud bound me to the challenge. With trembling fingers, I opened the door. The figure standing there made my stomach tighten. My friend Marcus, someone who knew Daniel intimately but had never seen this side of me. His eyes widened almost imperceptibly, and I felt a surge of panic mixed with a strange exhilaration. This was the moment of truth, the collision of my hidden desires with reality. "Daniel?" His voice held confusion and curiosity, his gaze sweeping over the crimson dress, the heels, the carefully applied makeup. The world seemed to slow. Every detail of my transformation, every gesture, every tilt of my head was scrutinized in silence. I swallowed hard, heart hammering. "Hi, Marcus," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Each syllable was a negotiation between fear, excitement, and defiance. My hands pressed lightly against the dress, as if drawing strength from the fabric itself. Marcus blinked, processing the image before him. "I didn't expect this," he finally stammered, his surprise palpable. I felt my chest tighten, adrenaline rushing through every vein. Exposure was no longer theoretical, it was immediate. Yet, paradoxically, the fear was intoxicating. Every nerve ending was alive, every sensation heightened. The tight heels, the cling of the dress, the subtle brush of makeup. The persona I had created was being tested under fire, and I realized I was thriving in this tension. Isabella's presence behind me was a steadying force. Her hand brushed lightly against my shoulder, subtle yet grounding, reminding me that I wasn't entirely alone in this vulnerability. Her eyes met mine, silently communicating encouragement, daring me to embrace the challenge fully. Marcus stepped closer, cautious but curious. You look different. Really different." His tone was laced with both admiration and bewilderment, as if he were seeing a completely new side of me. My pulse spiked. Could he accept this, or was judgment inevitable? I adjusted my posture, lifted my chin, and forced a small, confident smile. "I wanted to try something new," I said softly, each word deliberate, measured, yet vulnerable. The persona I had constructed depended on this delicate balance of confidence and fragility. Marcus's gaze lingered, scanning every detail, the sway of the hips, the shimmer of jewelry, the careful alignment of makeup. "It's impressive," he admitted finally, a note of genuine respect in his voice. The relief was almost overwhelming, but the tension remained. Exposure had happened, yet judgment was suspended, leaving the air crackling with possibility. Then, unexpectedly, the neighbor's voice from next door interrupted, louder and more impatient than before. The sound jolted me, a reminder that suspense had no boundaries, that danger of discovery could strike from any direction. My heels felt heavier with each heartbeat, the dress tighter, my breath shorter. Isabella's hand tightened slightly on my shoulder, a subtle signal of solidarity. "We'll handle it," she murmured. Her calm in the face of chaos emboldened me, but the stakes had never felt higher. I realized then that this moment, charged with fear, excitement, and vulnerability, was defining the boundaries of my transformation. Every decision, every gesture, every breath mattered. The persona I had created was not just for private indulgence anymore. It was a challenge, a test of courage, and an affirmation of identity under scrutiny. Marcus's curiosity never waned, yet he remained respectful, as if sensing the fragile balance I was maintaining. His presence highlighted the thrill and danger of exposure, each glance, each word, magnifying the tension in ways that were both terrifying and exhilarating. The neighbor knocked again, harder this time, and I knew that the external challenge was not over. Exposure had begun, and the suspense, danger, and excitement would escalate further. Yet, in this moment, fully inhabiting the persona, I felt a surge of empowerment I had never known, a mixture of fear, thrill, and undeniable exhilaration. I stood tall, heels pressing into the floor, dress swaying with subtle movement, makeup flawless, hair perfectly aligned, and faced the unfolding situation with a courage I hadn't realized I possessed. The journey from husband to wife was no longer abstract or private. It was immediate, electric, and dangerously intoxicating. And I knew, in the back of my mind, that the next challenge would push me even further, forcing me to navigate exposure, desire, and identity with no safety net. The knocking from the neighboring apartment was relentless now, reverberating through the walls and making my pulse pound in my ears. Every heartbeat felt magnified, every sound sharper, every movement weighted with consequence. My heels pressed harder into my calves, the dress clinging tighter, and the wig itched subtly on my scalp. I realized then that the stakes were no longer abstract. They were immediate, undeniable, and terrifyingly exhilarating. Marcus stood in the doorway, eyes wide, scanning me from head to toe. His admiration was clear, but so was his curiosity, and I knew that one slip, one hesitation, could shatter the fragile balance of acceptance and fascination he had maintained. My hands trembled slightly, and I pressed them against the dress to ground myself. Every instinct screamed caution, yet every nerve buzzed with anticipation. Isabella's hand on my shoulder was a silent anchor, her presence both comforting and daring. She whispered softly, "Stay calm, you've got this." Her confidence seeped into me, reinforcing the persona I had built. I straightened my shoulders, lifted my chin, and forced a controlled, graceful step forward. The neighbor's voice came again, louder, more demanding. "Daniel, are you in there? I need to talk to you." Panic threatened to unbalance me, but I couldn't show it. The persona I had carefully constructed demanded poise, elegance, and courage under pressure. Each motion, each tilt of the head, each sway of the hips had to be perfect. Marcus finally spoke, his voice hesitant yet steady. I don't know what to say. You look incredible, but this is so different." His gaze lingered, searching for any sign of Daniel beneath the transformation. I felt exposed, vulnerable, yet there was an undeniable thrill in being fully seen, fully acknowledged. I swallowed hard, voice slightly trembling but firm. I wanted to explore something new, something I've kept hidden. The words were heavy with vulnerability and honesty, yet they carried the power of confession and the allure of transformation. Isabella's eyes met mine, unwavering and supportive. She was my anchor, my witness, my co-conspirator in this dance of fear and exhilaration. Her presence emboldened me, giving me the courage to maintain the persona, even under the scrutiny of others. The neighbor knocked again, more forcefully, and I felt the tension surge through me like electricity. Every instinct told me to retreat, hide, or change back, but I couldn't. The persona demanded exposure, required acknowledgement, and in that demand, I found a heady rush of empowerment. Marcus shifted slightly, curiosity warring with respect. Are you comfortable like this? He asked softly, his eyes reflecting genuine concern and fascination. I hesitated, then nodded, letting a small, confident smile curve my lips. I am more than I expected. The admission was both terrifying and liberating. My identity, my desires, and my transformation were no longer private. They were being tested, validated, and observed. Then, without warning, the neighbor's door opened and a shadow appeared in the hallway. My heart lurched. The possibility of being discovered, of being exposed in full persona, pressed down with sudden intensity. I felt the full weight of the transformation. The dress, the heels, the makeup, the wig pressing against me like a second skin, making every movement deliberate, every gesture calculated. Isabella's grip tightened slightly, a silent signal to stay composed. My breath hitched as I realized that this was the tipping point, the moment where exposure, vulnerability, and exhilaration collided. Every detail mattered. The sway of the hips, the tilt of the head, the alignment of the heels, the shimmer of makeup. One misstep could reveal everything. Marcus stepped closer, protective yet fascinated. I didn't expect this, Daniel, or should I say you? His hesitation made me smile subtly, a mixture of nervousness and pride. The persona was no longer just a secret indulgence. It was a challenge, a declaration, and a test of courage. The shadow in the hallway moved closer, a muffled voice calling out. Panic surged through me, adrenaline spiking. Every sense was heightened. The rustle of the dress, the pressure of the heels, the warmth of the makeup against my skin. The persona demanded poise, yet the fear of exposure was suffocating. I took a deep, steadying breath, feeling the persona and Daniel merge into a single, resolute identity. I am ready, I whispered to myself, more than anyone else. The words carried determination, defiance, and courage. The thrill of being seen, the risk of discovery, and the intoxicating power of transformation all collided in that single moment. The neighbor's presence was now fully felt, each step in the hallway echoing like a drumbeat. The suspense was unbearable, yet exhilarating. Every heartbeat, every sway, every gesture was magnified under scrutiny, and I realized that I had crossed a line from secrecy to confrontation. The persona demanded to be acknowledged, and I would not retreat. Isabella squeezed my shoulder, her eyes unwavering. You're doing perfectly, she whispered. Her confidence became mine, grounding me even as the external pressures threatened to overwhelm. The next moments would define everything, the persona, the secret, the thrill, and the delicate balance between exposure and empowerment. I stood tall, heels pressing into the floor, dress flowing gracefully, makeup flawless, hair perfectly aligned. The persona was complete, ready to confront the world, and the suspense reached its peak. The journey from husband to wife had entered its most dangerous and exhilarating phase, and there was no turning back. The hallway outside suddenly fell quiet, too quiet. That silence, thick and brittle, scraped against my nerves more harshly than the neighbor's insistent knocking ever had. The kind of silence that warns you, something is about to happen. My breath caught. The cool air conditioning brushed the exposed skin on my legs, making me hyper-aware of every inch of the dress hugging my hips. The heels felt higher. The makeup felt heavier. The wig felt too real. Isabella sensed it instantly. Her hand slipped down to my lower back, guiding but firm. Don't panic now, she whispered. This is the moment that decides everything. But my heart wasn't listening. It punched against my ribs like it wanted to escape. The persona I had put on, the confident, poised, graceful version of me, stumbled under the pressure. For a split second, Daniel resurfaced inside me, terrified, trembling, wanting to run. But I couldn't run in heels. Not now. Not like this. The doorknob rattled. My lungs froze. Marcus stepped instinctively in front of me, as if shielding me. The gesture surprised me. His curiosity had morphed into protectiveness. His voice dropped into a whisper. He's really trying to get in. You need to decide, do you stay as her or do you run and hide? His eyes flickered toward me. Not judging. Not mocking. Just waiting. The decision weighed on me like a stone. Hide like Daniel. Or stand like the woman I had become. I didn't have time to think. The neighbor muttered something frustrated under his breath, then pushed again, harder. The entire door shook. I felt the tremor under my heels. Isabella stepped closer, her lips nearly at my ear. Hold your posture. Lift your chin. If he sees you, make sure he sees confidence, not fear. I hated how right she was. I swallowed, lifted my chin, and placed one hand on my hip the way she had taught me earlier. The motion felt surreal, foreign yet strangely right. My fingers slid over the fabric of the dress, smoothing it, aligning it. A gesture that felt natural despite the fear coursing through me. But my legs trembled. The pressure built behind the door. Another rattle, another shove, and then a faint click. The lock hadn't opened, but it moved. The blood drained from my face. He has a spare key, Marcus whispered, horrified. Isabella stiffened beside me. He shouldn't, but he does. My throat went dry. Then we have seconds. Adrenaline surged through me, sharper than anything I had ever felt. Every detail around me seemed painfully clear. The scent of Isabella's perfume on my neck, the soft brush of the dress against my thighs, the weight of the wig resting on my shoulders. Even the shimmer of lip gloss on my lips felt too bright, too revealing. The persona wasn't just a disguise anymore. It was a shield. A fragile one. The keys scraped again. A metallic grind echoed through the apartment. My heart thrashed. Marcus whispered frantically. What do you want us to do? Hide you? Cover you? Make an excuse? Excuses.
Lies. Panic.
None of them felt possible. None of them felt right. Isabella stepped in front of me again, her eyes locking on mine. Listen. If he comes in, don't run. Don't fall apart. Let him think whatever he wants, but stay poised. Stay in control. You hear me?
I wanted to say yes.
But the truth slipped out. I'm scared. The words cracked out of me like broken glass. Isabella's expression softened. She cupped my face gently, thumbs brushing the blush on my cheeks. Of course you're scared. But look at you. Her eyes traveled over my silhouette. You're stunning. You're brave. And you're stronger than you think. But, I whispered. No, she leaned in. You look like someone who belongs in her own skin.
Trust it.
Trust her. Her confidence gave me breath again. My spine straightened. My fingers uncurled. My posture adjusted without thinking. The persona slid back into place, not as an act, but as something I didn't want to let go of. The key scraped a third time. The door creaked. Light spilled into the apartment. And I froze. The neighbor, Eric, stood in the doorway, halfway inside, confusion already forming on his face as he began to speak. Daniel? His voice stalled mid-syllable. His eyes locked on me. Every nerve lit on fire. He blinked. Once.
Twice.
His gaze traveled from my heels, up my legs, to the hem of the dress, across my chest, up my face, pausing on my wig, then my lipstick. I could see it the exact second his brain crashed. Behind me, Marcus inhaled sharply. Beside me, Isabella's grip around my waist tightened, but she didn't pull me away. She didn't hide me. She held me like she was presenting me. The silence sharpened until it felt like it could cut skin. I swallowed. Eric just stared. I forced myself to do it. I lifted my chin a fraction higher, softened my shoulders, and let the persona settle fully into my posture. I wasn't Daniel cowering. I wasn't Daniel hiding. I was the woman they had shaped me into. Eric's voice finally cracked out, low and stunned. Daniel? I felt Isabella's breath near my ear as she whispered. Answer him. I turned my head, just slightly, just gracefully enough, and spoke. Yes. The single word echoed through the apartment like a revelation. Eric stared, baffled, speechless. And then, he stepped fully inside, closed the door behind him, and said the words that froze every part of me. I need to know what's going on. The world tilted. The tension snapped tight, like a wire about to break. This wasn't a glimpse, a suspicion, or a passing misunderstanding. This was confrontation. This was exposure. This was the turning point. Everything I had hidden, everything I had suppressed, everything I had transformed into now stood in front of someone who wasn't meant to see any of it. And there was no escape left. Eric's voice felt like a blade pressed against my throat, not hurting me, but threatening everything I had ever tried to keep hidden. I need to know what's going on. His tone wasn't angry. It wasn't mocking. It wasn't amused. It was worse. It was serious. And seriousness meant danger. My stomach dropped so hard I felt dizzy in my heels. The apartment suddenly felt too small, too bright, too exposed. The dress clung to me like a spotlight. My breathing grew shallow. Every instinct screamed at me to run, but there was nowhere to run. Isabella stepped half in front of me, half beside me, not shielding me,
Supporting me.
she rested one hand firmly on my lower back, grounding me. Marcus stood frozen against the wall, eyes darting between us like he didn't know whether to intervene or disappear. But Eric? His gaze didn't move from me. Not once. His eyes traced every detail, the lipstick, the lashes, the shape of the dress around my body, the wig falling softly over my shoulders, the delicate click of my trembling heels on the wooden floor. He didn't blink. The seconds felt like hours. Finally, he exhaled. "Daniel, what are you wearing?" The softness in his voice made it even harder. Sympathy was a more dangerous weapon than hostility. Sympathy invited honesty. Honesty exposed me. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. My lips parted again, the gloss catching the light, but my voice was trapped beneath layers of panic and fear. Isabella squeezed my waist. A silent encouragement. "You're okay."
Speak.
I swallowed hard. I can explain. The words were thin, shaky, unfamiliar in this softer tone that matched my appearance too perfectly. Even hearing myself speak like this made heat rush to my cheeks. Eric's eyebrows lifted slightly. "Then explain." "Because I walked in expecting to help Marcus fix his water heater, and now I'm watching you stand there in a dress." He paused. A very feminine dress. The blush deepened to a painful burn. I felt naked despite all the fabric. Isabella stepped closer to him, her tone controlled but calm. "Eric, this isn't what you think." But he raised a hand, cutting her off.
No.
"Don't protect him. Let him say it." I felt my pulse ricochet through my body. He wasn't angry. He wasn't disgusted. He just wanted the truth, which made it 10 times harder. My legs nearly buckled in the heels, but I forced myself to stay upright. If I collapsed now, everything Isabella had taught me, every ounce of confidence she had built into me, would shatter. So I breathed in.
Soft.
Controlled. And I whispered, Crossdress. The softness of my voice made the confession feel surreal. Eric's expression changed.
Shock.
Confusion. Understanding. And something else, something I couldn't name. I continued, unable to stop now that the truth was spilling out. I didn't mean for anyone to find out. It wasn't supposed to be seen. I just do it sometimes. For myself. For reasons I don't fully understand yet. My throat strained. And today, I took it too far. Isabella's hand slid to mine, intertwining her fingers gently with mine. It felt protective, grounding, intimate. Eric stared at our hands. "So, you're saying this isn't a prank?
Or a joke?
Or something forced?" "No," I whispered. "It's something I need." The silence that followed was suffocating. Eric rubbed his forehead. "Daniel, look, I don't care what you wear. But you have to understand how shocking this is. You're married. You've always been the most normal guy I knew. This is big."
Married.
The word stabbed deeper than anything else. Because he didn't know Isabella's role in this. He didn't know she encouraged it. He didn't know she was the one who held me steady right now. Eric scanned me again, slower this time. Not judgmental. Almost curious. Then he spoke. I didn't know you wanted to be a woman. My breath caught. Isabella straightened. He didn't say that. Eric shrugged. Well, look at him. The dress isn't half effort. The makeup is good. And the hair, well, that's not something you do casually. His eyes met mine. So, what is this? Exploring? Changing? Escaping? I felt exposed, dissected under his gaze. I shook my head slightly. I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. Eric exhaled, leaning against the wall, absorbing everything. This is a lot. But okay. I get that you're going through something.
He paused.
But does Isabella know? A cold shiver climbed my spine. This was it. The most dangerous moment yet. The moment everything could collapse. Isabella stepped forward, shoulders squared. Yes, she said firmly. I know. I've always known. Eric blinked. Always? Yes. And you're okay with it? She looked at me, a look filled with something between affection and fierce protectiveness, then looked back at him. I'm more than okay with it. I'm helping him. Eric froze. Helping, he repeated. I felt my chest tighten. He was connecting the dots now. The makeup that was too perfect to be my first try, the dress that fit too well, the confident stance Isabella kept guiding me into. Eric stared at her, then at me, then at her again. You turned him into this? Her answer was a whisper, yet it hit the room like thunder. Not turned. Freed. The room fell silent. My breath trembled. Eric pushed off the wall, pacing once, twice, the weight of the situation crashing over him. Then he stopped. And he said the sentence that changed everything. So, what happens next? The world stood still. His eyes were serious, focused, expectant. He wasn't asking out of curiosity. He was asking because he knew something irreversible had begun, and he wanted to know just how deep it went. My mouth opened, but no words came. Not because I didn't know the answer, but because the real answer terrified me. I didn't want to take the dress off. I didn't want to stop. I didn't want this to end. And if I said that out loud, everything would change forever. Ethan kept moving through the room like every inch of space was suddenly dangerous. Every sound felt sharpened, every breath felt too loud. His heart pounded with a rhythm he didn't recognize, something between terror and anticipation, as he stood completely transformed, yet completely uncertain of what he had just awakened inside himself. He brushed the wig hair behind his ear, the gesture coming out naturally, almost feminine, and that startled him more than anything. It wasn't just that he looked like someone else. Isabella's clothes, her curves, her energy, he felt like someone else. Or maybe he felt like himself in a way he had never allowed. The moment frightened him, not because he looked ridiculous, but because he didn't. He stepped closer to the mirror. His reflection didn't fight him this time. The woman looking back seemed to understand him with a strange, unspoken intimacy. This isn't me, he whispered. But the voice, the soft, slightly breathy feminine tone, didn't agree. It sounded like someone hiding a secret, someone delicate and unsure but wanting to be seen. His hands shook as he traced the contour of the dress along his waist. The fabric hugged, too honestly, too perfectly. It revealed femininity he didn't know he could carry. And, yet, he didn't want to take it off. That truth alone sent a crack of panic through him. It was one thing to secretly imagine wearing Isabella's clothes, another thing entirely to see himself transformed into something that felt right. He swallowed hard and forced a step back, needing to break the spell. But the heels made everything harder. The shift of weight, the sway of his hips, it was all unfamiliar and deeply real. He grabbed the doorframe to steady himself. This is stupid. I need to stop, he said, trying to convince himself, not the empty room. He needed to take the dress off. Hide everything. Pretend this moment never existed. Isabella could never, ever know. The The thought of her finding out made his stomach twist painfully. She was loving, supportive, confident, but would she understand this? The man she fell in love with was strong, masculine, dependable. What if this secret erased all of that? What if he ruined everything? He tried to unzip the dress, but the zipper caught. His hands fumbled awkwardly, nails scraping lightly over the fabric. The panic spiked again.
Breathe. Calm down.
But the dress wasn't moving. He tugged again, harder. Nothing. A cold wave rolled through him, and he froze. The zipper was stuck.
No.
No, not now. Come on. His voice trembled, on the edge of cracking. He twisted, reached, pulled, but the zipper stayed locked in place like it had been welded. He turned and stared at himself in the mirror with wide eyes. He really was stuck. His breath hitched. It felt like the room shrank around him. The dress hadn't been tight before, but now that he knew he was trapped in it, it suddenly felt too fitted, the lace pressing against his ribs like invisible hands refusing to let go. He ran both hands down the sides of the dress, feeling the fabric mold to him like a second skin. It was beautiful, feminine, transformative, but also imprisoning. He could feel sweat forming at the back of his neck beneath the wig. Every second trapped in these clothes amplified the intensity of the moment. His mind spiraled through every worst-case scenario. What if Isabella came home? What if she saw him like this? What if he couldn't explain anything? What if he didn't want to? The last question scared him most. His throat tightened, and he forced himself to stop tugging the zipper. He needed a plan. Panicking was making the dress feel tighter, making his breath shorter. He looked around for scissors.
Something.
Anything. But the room offered no solution. And cutting Isabella's favorite dress was not an option. If she didn't hate him for cross-dressing, she would definitely kill him for that. He pressed a palm against his forehead. Okay, think, he muttered under his breath. I can hide. I can wait. Maybe it will loosen if I calm down. Or maybe I can.
His thought was cut off by a sound.
A soft, unmistakable sound. A click. The front door's lock. Ethan's body went rigid. His heart slammed against his ribs, so hard he felt it in his throat. No, 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 no.
Not now.
Not like this. He wasn't ready. He wasn't supposed to be here like this. She wasn't supposed to be home yet. He froze completely, like even moving might make the moment worse. Another click. The handle turning. Ethan's breath left his lungs in a sharp, silent gasp. His fingers curled around the dresser for balance, the heels making every muscle tense, unable to move naturally. The wig slipped slightly forward, and he pushed it back with shaking hands. He could hear footsteps entering. Isabella's footsteps. Her keys landing on the table. Her soft sigh, the kind she always made when she was tired. She was inside. Inside. And he was standing in her dress. In her heels. In her hair. In her world. The zipper stuck. The dress unforgiving. His reflection softly glowing with femininity he couldn't deny. Ethan didn't know whether to hide or surrender. His heart raced with fear, with guilt, with desire, with truth. He stood motionless, breath trembling, waiting for whatever would happen next. Ethan didn't dare breathe. Isabella's soft footsteps were getting closer. Too close, each one sinking into his chest like a warning. It felt like time was dissolving around him. The dress hugged him tighter. The heels forced his legs into a delicate stance, and every inch of his transformed body felt exposed, vulnerable, undeniable. He pressed himself against the wall, praying the shadows might swallow him. He knew it wouldn't. The soft rustle of her jacket sliding off her shoulders echoed through the air. She always tossed it onto the nearest chair. She'd hum a little afterward, a tiny melodic habit she had since childhood.
And he heard it now.
That hum. That impossible, dangerous hum. She was relaxed, comfortable, unaware her husband, her strong, masculine, reliable husband, was hiding 30 feet away, wearing her black lace bodycon dress and standing in heels he could barely balance in. His pulse hammered violently, his breath unsteady. The wig brushed his cheeks with each trembling exhale. She can't see me like this. She can't. She can't. He wasn't just worried about being judged. He was terrified of being understood, because what if she saw a truth he wasn't ready to confront? He forced himself to silently step sideways, tiny, awkward steps caused by the heels. The dress tightened across his thighs with each movement, making escape feel slow, delicate, too feminine. Her voice drifted through the hallway, casual, unaware. "Ethan?" Every muscle in his body flinched. He felt the words slice through him like a blade. She wasn't suspicious yet, just calling out.
Just checking.
He couldn't answer. His voice would betray him. He didn't even know whether he'd sound like himself or the breathy woman the mirror had shown him. He pressed a hand over his mouth, heart racing uncontrollably. Another step from Isabella. Then another. He could picture her smile fading as she noticed the light on. Then the faint sound of her heels on the tile, sharp and definitive. She was coming toward the room. Ethan backed up instinctively, heel wobbling, until his back hit the edge of the dresser. The impact was soft, but to him it felt like a thunderclap. The zipper tugged painfully where it was jammed, reminding him he couldn't slip out of the dress even if he ripped it. His hands flew back to it in panic, pulling, begging it to move. Nothing. He was trapped. In the dress. In the moment. In his truth. Isabella called again, closer now. "Ethan? Are you in here?" A wave of panic washed through him so intensely it made him dizzy. He glanced around the room. The only hiding spot, the only possible escape, was the narrow space behind the half-open closet door. It wasn't meant for hiding a full-grown person. But maybe, just maybe, it was enough. Maybe. He moved. The heels made every step dangerous. The wig brushed his shoulders. The dress slid tight along his hips. He squeezed behind the closet door, just as Isabella's shadow stretched across the hallway floor. He pressed himself against the wall, body trembling uncontrollably. The closet door barely covered him. If she walked even a few inches closer, she would see him. He tried not to breathe. Isabella's hand touched the doorframe as she stepped into the room. He could see her through the narrow crack, the way she narrowed her eyes, the way her body stilled when she noticed something on the dresser. Her lipstick. The red one. She had left it inside her purse earlier. She remembered that. She always remembered little things. Her eyes flicked up, scanning the room. Her voice sharpened slightly. "Ethan?" His entire body locked. Panic swelled. Fear clawed at his throat. She moved further in. She was close, too close, only feet away. And then she stopped. Her head tilted. Her eyes dropped to the floor. A tiny glimmer of fabric near the dresser leg. The strap of her black heel, the matching pair to the ones Ethan was wearing, that had fallen earlier. She knew those shoes. She loved those shoes. She recognized that one didn't belong on the floor. Her brows drew together. And then, as she slowly bent down to pick it up, Ethan felt his heartbeat leap into a raw, painful sprint. He felt sweat trickle down his spine. He felt the claustrophobic trap closing in. Isabella lifted the fallen heel in her hand. Her fingers traced the strap. Her expression tightened. Not angry. Not confused. Something deeper. Something dangerously close to realization. She looked around the room again, this time slower, sharper, more thoughtful. Her gaze lingered on details Ethan hadn't even considered, slightly disturbed makeup brushes, a faint smudge on the vanity mirror, the subtle scent of her perfume warming in the air.
She saw things.
She always saw things. "Who?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Who touched my things?" The question wasn't truly a question.
It was instinct.
Suspicion forming. A feeling she couldn't yet name. Ethan clamped his eyes shut. He wanted to disappear. He wanted the floor to swallow him whole. He wanted the dress to stop hugging him so tightly, reminding him that he wasn't just wearing her clothes. He was wearing a version of himself he didn't understand. Isabella's breathing deepened. She took one step toward the closet. Ethan felt it in the air. Then another step. Closer. Closer. Her hand lifted toward the closet door. Ethan's heart nearly burst. "Please don't. Please don't open it. Please." Her fingers grazed the edge of the door. She paused, her voice barely a whisper. "Ethan, are you hiding something from me?" Her hand tightened on the door. She began to pull it open. And just before it opened enough to expose him, a loud vibration shattered the tension. Her phone. Ringing. She froze, startled, pulled back her hand, and stepped away to grab it. Ethan sagged in silent, trembling relief, just for a moment. Just for one breath. Just for one heartbeat. But his danger wasn't over. Isabella answered the call. And the first thing she said was, "Yeah, I think something's wrong here." Ethan's blood ran cold. She knew.
Or she was about to.
And he was still trapped.
Still dressed.
Still stuck behind the closet door. Waiting for the moment everything shattered. Ethan's lungs refused to work. He could hear Isabella's voice clearly, shaken, uncertain, dangerously perceptive, as she spoke on the phone just a few steps away from where he hid. "Yes, I just got home," she said quietly. "No, nothing stolen. It's just something feels off." Her voice trembled faintly, and Ethan's stomach twisted. She wasn't scared. She was suspicious. Suspicion was worse. Fear could be soothed. But suspicion made people search. He pressed his back harder against the wall, trying to make himself small, disappearing into the narrow darkness of the closet gap. The dress's zipper dug painfully into his spine, but he couldn't move. Any sound risked everything. His legs wobbled in the heels, his breathing shallow, his nerves a live wire waiting to snap. Isabella continued on the call. "No, I really don't think it's a break-in," she murmured. "It's more like someone was here. Someone touched my stuff." Ethan squeezed his eyes shut. Someone touched her stuff. If she knew the truth, that it was him, what would happen? Anger? Disappointment?
Confusion?
Or something far more complicated?
He didn't know.
He wasn't sure he ever knew. Her footsteps moved again, slower this time, thoughtful, her gaze sweeping the room as if assembling a puzzle piece by piece. He could feel her attention, her energy, her intuition tightening around him like a net. "Yes, I'm alone," she said into the phone. "At least I think so." A bolt of dread shot through Ethan.
Of course she would check.
Of course she would look around. Of course she would move toward. Her tone sharpened. "I'll call you back." The phone clicked shut. Silence. Thick, unbearable silence. Only her slow inhale broke it. And her next words. "Ethan? Are you in the bedroom?" His heartbeat exploded. She sounded different now. Not casual. Not confused. Worried. Suspicious. Almost hurt. Her footsteps moved closer. One step. Another. Ethan held every breath hostage inside his lungs. He wasn't ready for this. He wasn't ready for her to see him. Not like this. Not halfway between identities. Not trapped in a dress that fit too perfectly and felt too right. But he also wasn't ready to lie. He didn't know which was worse. Isabella stopped directly in front of the closet door. Ethan could see the shadows of her legs through the thin crack. She was close enough to touch him if she reached out. Her fingers slid slowly along the door's edge again. Slow. Deliberate. No longer hesitant. "Please," she whispered, voice shaking. "Just tell me if you're here." Ethan's throat tightened painfully. She wasn't angry. She was scared. Why scared? The realization hit him like a punch. She didn't think he was hiding from her. She thought there was someone dangerous in the house. She thought she was at risk. She thought the disturbance, the objects out of place, the faint traces of perfume and lipstick, all pointed to a stranger inside their home. She wasn't prepared for the truth. He wasn't either. Another step. Her hand curled into the closet door. She exhaled shakily, gathering courage to open it fully. He felt his entire future collapse into that single moment. He had two choices.
Stay hidden.
Let her open it. Let the world shatter around him. Or stop her. Reveal himself. Face everything. But before he could decide, fate made the choice for him. The heel he wore slid on a loose scarf lying on the closet floor. A tiny slip. A tiny scrape. Barely a sound. But enough. Isabella froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Ethan could see her shadow stiffen, her fingers tightening around the door. Then, she yanked the closet door open. The rush of air blasted against Ethan's face. Light flooded in, and Isabella's eyes locked onto him. Her mouth fell open, but no sound came out. Ethan stood there, wearing her dress, her heels, her wig, her lipstick, his makeup smudged from panic, his hair brushing his face, his breathing unsteady, his entire secret life exposed in one brutal, naked second. Isabella didn't scream. She didn't step back. She didn't drop the shoe still in her hand. She just stared,
Stunned. Confused.
and something else, something deeper, something he couldn't read. Ethan tried to speak. Isabella, this isn't. But the words choked. His voice, trapped between masculine and feminine, trembled pathetically. Isabella's eyes swept over him slowly. Dress, heels, wig, lipstick, taking in every detail, every contradiction, every secret. Her voice came out thin, barely a whisper. Why are you dressed like that? Her question stabbed into his chest. Not because she sounded angry, but because she sounded hurt, wounded, like he had betrayed her trust. His hands shook. He couldn't hide. He couldn't lie. He couldn't explain. So, he did the only thing he could. He looked at her. Truly looked at her. Her eyes glistened with 1,000 unspoken emotions. Ethan didn't know what she saw in him. A stranger? A broken promise? A different version of the man she loved? Or a truth he didn't dare name? But before he could answer, a knock echoed from the front door.
Sharp.
Sudden. Terrifying. Both of them froze. Isabella turned toward the hallway. Ethan's blood ran cold. Another knock. Harder this time. Isabella? Ethan? A voice called from outside. Her sister. Her sister. Her sister. The one who lived nearby. The one who visited unannounced. The one who always let herself in just to check on things. Ethan's knees almost buckled. If she saw him like this, if she walked into this moment, if she witnessed everything, his world wouldn't just crack. It would collapse. Isabella swallowed hard. She looked at Ethan, then at the door, then back at Ethan. Her voice trembled. Don't move. And for the first time since he put on the dress, he wasn't sure if she meant it to protect him, or to confront him later. The door handle from the outside began to jiggle. Someone was trying to come in. Ethan's breath stopped completely. The danger level skyrocketed. The transformation wasn't the only secret anymore.
Now,
They were seconds away from being caught by someone who absolutely could not see him like this. The door handle rattled harder. Isabella? Are you in there? Her sister called again, closer, louder, already sounding like she had one foot across the threshold. Ethan's heart crashed against his ribs so violently he felt dizzy. Isabella spun toward the hallway, panic spreading across her face. She glanced back at Ethan, his dress, his heels, the wig slipping slightly from the panic sweat on his forehead. Her lips parted.
she had no plan.
No explanation. No time to think. The true horror seeped into Ethan. If her sister saw him like this, if she walked into the bedroom and found him in her clothes, there would be no undoing it. No hiding it. No saving anything. Not his dignity. Not his relationship. Not his old life. Everything would collapse instantly. Isabella moved fast. So fast Ethan barely registered the blur of motion. She grabbed the closet door and slammed it shut. Ethan was back in the darkness,
Crushed by panic.
trapped in the dress, breathing too fast, unable to tell if she locked him away to protect him, or because she couldn't bear to look at him. He pressed his palm against the wooden door from inside. Isabella, he whispered. Sure, she hissed from the other side. Don't say anything. Her voice sounded fractured, emotionally torn in a way Ethan had never heard before. Then footsteps. A hurried inhale. The creak of the front door opening. Hey, Isabella greeted her sister, voice pitched unnaturally high. You scared me. Her sister walked in immediately. I knocked 3 times, she said. Are you okay? Isabella forced a laugh that screamed discomfort. Yeah, just tired. Cleaning. Ethan could hear everything. Every footstep. Every sentence. Every nervous inhale Isabella took as she tried to defend the fragile, breaking world around them. Her sister didn't wait. She wandered further inside. Why is your voice shaky? She asked bluntly. Is something wrong? Ethan curled deeper into the corner of the closet, clutching the hem of the dress in his trembling hands. The faint sparkle of Isabella's lip gloss smeared on his lips caught the sliver of light. What would happen if her sister walked into the bedroom? Would Isabella block her? Would she tell the truth? Would she invent a lie? Would she defend him? Did she even want to? Isabella's sister continued. Is Ethan home? Ethan's lungs froze. No. Isabella responded instantly. Too instantly. He's out. Won't be back until 8. Her sister hummed suspiciously. Good, she said. I actually need to talk to you about him. Ethan nearly choked. Talk about him?
What now?
He pressed his ear against the narrow crack. What about? Isabella asked cautiously. It's just, her sister lowered her voice even though she was only a few feet from the closet. Don't you think he's been acting strange? Ethan felt cold needle into his spine. Isabella did not answer. Her sister continued. He's hiding something. I can feel it. Ethan's blood ran cold. Did she know? Was he that obvious? Isabella exhaled shakily. What makes you say that? Her sister scoffed softly. Oh, come on. You're not blind.
He sneaks around.
He's nervous all the time. He's avoiding everyone. And I know you might be ignoring it, but your clothes? Your makeup? Some of it goes missing. Ethan's heart stopped. She knew. She had noticed. Of course she did. She was always observant, always critical, always seeing too much. Isabella swallowed hard. Maybe he's stressed. No, her sister countered. He's hiding something. Something big. And honestly, I'm worried for you. That word cut into Ethan deeper than any accusation. Worried. For her. Not him. Her sister wasn't suspicious for drama. She was suspicious for Isabella's safety. And he was the cause. Inside the suffocating darkness, Ethan felt a sting behind his eyes. They were talking about him like he wasn't even a person, but a threat, a problem, a mystery to solve. And he couldn't defend himself. Couldn't explain. Couldn't confess. Couldn't say, it's me, I'm sorry. I just needed to feel something different. I just wanted to try. I didn't want to hurt anyone. His voice stayed dead in his throat. Isabella's voice cut in. Listen, she whispered. I found something. Something weird. Ethan's heart lurched. She wasn't going to expose him. She wouldn't. She couldn't. Right? Her sister leaned closer. Ethan could hear it. What did you find? Isabella hesitated. A long, painful hesitation. Then she said quietly, a wig. Ethan shut his eyes. Her sister inhaled sharply. Isabella, oh my God. Is he cheating? The words slapped Ethan like a physical blow.
Cheating?
They thought he was cheating? Isabella stuttered. No, it's not that, I just... Her sister pressed harder, voice rising. Whose wig is it? Who was in your apartment? Were they here today? Was someone with him? Did they use your stuff? Your makeup? Your dress? Her voice was a knife, stabbing closer and closer to the truth. Ethan clenched his fists so tightly around the dress that his knuckles ached. He wanted to scream. It's mine. It was me. I wasn't cheating. I was trying to understand myself. Please don't let them hate me for this. But Isabella said nothing. Her silence was louder than any accusation. Her sister kept going. Isabella, you need to be careful. If he's hiding something this big, who knows what it is? Ethan felt something inside him break. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly. A small, devastating crack. The idea that Isabella might believe even a fraction of her sister's fears, that she might think he was capable of betrayal, it crushed him. But then, finally, Isabella spoke, and her voice shook with emotion Ethan couldn't read. It wasn't another woman. Her sister paused. What do you mean? Isabella swallowed hard. I think, I think Ethan is going through something. Something complicated. Ethan pressed his hand against the closet door again. Was that protection? Understanding? Or the beginning of something worse? Her sister inched closer to the bedroom. Well, then show me. Ethan gasped silently. Show me. If she walked into that bedroom, if she opened that closet, if she found Ethan trapped in heels and a dress, there would be no coming back. Isabella reacted instantly. No, she snapped, rushing ahead to block her. Don't go in there. It's messy. I don't want you to see. Her sister raised an eyebrow. Messy. Suspicion dripping from every syllable. Isabella's breathing turned shaky again. The closet door trembled as she leaned against it from the other side, right where Ethan's hand was pressed. For one tiny second, their palms rested on opposite sides of the same barrier, separated by wood, connected by fear, and confusion, and questions they weren't ready to ask. Isabella whispered, quiet enough that only Ethan could hear. Please don't make a sound. Then, a phone rang loudly. Her sister's.
She groaned.
Ugh, hang on. Footsteps moved away. Ethan dared to breathe, but Isabella didn't. She stayed right where she was, hand pressed to the door, protecting him, hiding him, shielding him, whether she wanted to or not. I shouldn't have opened the message. I knew it the second my thumb tapped the screen. Good. Now you're ready for stage 3. My heart dropped so fast I felt dizzy. The woman, my so-called doctor, wasn't even pretending anymore. She wasn't checking on my condition. She wasn't reassuring me. She was monitoring me.
She was planning something.
I dropped my phone on the bed, as if it were burning through my skin. Stage 3? I whispered, my voice shaking. What the hell does that mean? I didn't want to know. But, at the same time, I needed to know. That's the worst part. Fear doesn't just freeze you. It pushes you to dig deeper, even when every instinct tells you to run. I paced back and forth, hands trembling so badly I kept wiping my palms on my clothes. Everything felt too tight, my shirt hugging my chest in a way it never did before, my hips brushing together differently, my posture subtly shifting without me meaning to. I could feel my body responding to her treatment.
Changing. Softening.
Molding. And now she wanted stage 3. No, I muttered, shaking my head. Not happening. I'm done. I'm stopping all of this right now. I grabbed the pills she had given me, the hormonal stabilizers, and dumped them into the trash. The bottles clattered loudly, bouncing off each other like mocking laughter. But as soon as they hit the bottom, my phone buzzed again. A cold wave shot down my spine. I stared at the notification. Unknown number. Don't throw away what keeps you safe. My skin prickled. My breath caught. She knew. She always knew. My fingers shook violently as I picked up the phone. How are you watching me? Are you spying on me? Listening to me? What do you want? 3 dots appeared. Stopped. Appeared again. I swear those blinking dots felt like someone staring into my soul. Then the message popped up.
You started this.
You took the treatment. Now you finish it. Stage 3 begins in 1 hour. Where what I sent you. Where what she sent me? My eyes darted around the room. That's when I noticed something I hadn't seen before, a small white package sitting on the chair, as if it had appeared out of nowhere. No label. No sender. No instructions. Just my name written in looping handwriting that looked too elegant, too controlled, almost like it had been practiced 1,000 times. My stomach twisted as I approached it. A voice inside my head screamed, not to touch it. But my hand reached anyway. When I opened the box, my breath punched out of my chest. Inside was not medicine, not a device, not anything remotely clinical. It was a set of clothes, not normal clothes.
Soft.
Delicate.
Pretty.
Beautiful even. A silky top with thin straps. A flowing skirt that shimmered faintly when I tilted it. Stockings, smooth as water. And underneath everything, a pair of lace panties, so fine they looked like they'd melt in my hands. My throat tightened. My chest constricted. My skin flushed hot. No. I'm not wearing this, I whispered. This is insane. She can't make me. I tried to close the box, but my hand stopped halfway. A strange heat bloomed from deep inside me, like a pull, like something waking up. I hated the sensation, yet I couldn't deny it. The clothes called to me, not because I wanted to wear them, but because a part of me feared what would happen if I didn't.
My phone chimed again.
One message.
Short. Cool. Icy.
If you disobey stage 3, the side effects will begin within minutes. I froze. Side effects? What side effects? Another message. Put them on. My breath shook. My mind raced. My fear clawed at my chest until I couldn't think straight. Somewhere between panic and survival instinct, my fingers reached into the box and pulled out the skirt. The fabric slid over my skin with an unnatural softness. My pulse hammered against my neck. I didn't want this. I didn't choose this. But my trembling hands kept moving, as if my body were acting on a script she had written into me. Piece by piece, layer by layer, I dressed myself exactly how she wanted, each item tighter around my heart than the last. When I was finally done, I stood there, breathing hard, looking like a stranger in the reflection of my darkened window. I didn't recognize the silhouette staring back. And then the next message arrived. Good. Stage 3 accepted. Now come to the address below. Don't make me come get you. My blood ran cold. She wasn't done. Not even close. And whatever stage 3 really was, I wasn't ready for it. My fingers twitched as I stared at the address she sent. It wasn't a clinic. It wasn't an office. It wasn't even a public place. It was a house. A single word sat below the address like a command I was expected to obey. Enter through the back. My throat scraped dry as I read it. Back entrance. Like I was something being delivered, not someone arriving. Every instinct told me not to go. To block her. To run. But my body felt too wired, too overwhelmed, too altered to think clearly. The clothes she forced on me clung to my skin like a second nervous system. Every movement felt different, lighter, softer, almost programmed. Emotions stormed inside me.
Fear. Shame.
Confusion. And beneath all that, something I didn't want to name. I picked up my phone, intending to call anyone. But the screen went black before I could even type a single digit. Another message flashed instantly. The battery isn't dead. I turned it off. Come now. My knees nearly buckled.
She wasn't watching me.
She was controlling me. Some force bigger than logic took over. A mix of survival and terror. And before I fully realized it, I was stepping outside, arms wrapped around my transformed body, hiding the outfit beneath a jacket that suddenly felt too short, too thin, too revealing. Every step felt louder. Every sound sharper. Every passing person a threat who might see me, judge me, recognize the change I was trying to hide. By the time I reached the street with the address, my legs were trembling so badly I could barely stand. The house seemed normal on the outside, quiet, plain, forgettable. But that made it even worse. Ordinary houses weren't supposed to hide monsters. I approached the gate, hesitated, then slipped around to the back, as she ordered. A faint glow leaked from inside a door slightly cracked open, just enough for someone to slip through. Someone like me. A soft click echoed behind me. The gate had locked itself. Panic spiked up my spine. I whipped around, grabbing at the latch, shaking it, pulling it, nothing moved.
Trapped.
And the only way out was forward. Inside. Into her space. I pushed the back door open, expecting a dark room or a basement setup. But the moment I walked in, I froze completely. It wasn't a room. It was a studio. Bright lights. Mirrors on every wall. Soft white curtains. Shelves stacked with drawers labeled in looping handwriting. Foundation. Lashes.
Wigs.
Accessories. Training. Training? Just reading the word made my stomach twist painfully. I took a shaky step backward, but the door slammed shut behind me with a force that rattled the shelves. Then I heard it.
Heels. Slow.
Measured. Echoing. Coming closer. My pulse spiked so high it hurt. A shadow appeared behind the curtain.
Tall.
Elegant. Unmoving. A woman's silhouette. But something about the way she stood, perfect posture, head tilted slightly like she was studying me through the fabric, made my entire body lock up. I swallowed hard. My hands curled into fists. The outfit she forced on me suddenly felt like a collar tightening. Then her voice drifted out, smooth and warm. Too calm to be safe. Stage 3 isn't about clothes. The curtain shifted slightly as she stepped closer. It's about teaching you how to live in your new body. My heart slammed into my ribs. I stumbled back, so fast I nearly tripped. No, I'm not living like this. You're insane. You can't just. She cut me off with a quiet laugh, soft but deep enough to vibrate through the room. Oh, sweetheart, I'm not changing you. Her silhouette leaned in, inches from the curtain. I'm simply revealing what you've already become. My breath caught because I realized something horrifying. The air felt warm. The room felt heavy. My legs were shaking so violently I couldn't move. And my body, my traitorous, altered body, felt like it was humming under my skin.
Changing.
Reacting. Obeying. Then her final words slid across the room like a blade. Now, come stand in front of the mirror. My knees buckled. Because I already knew. When I looked, I wouldn't see myself anymore. Only what she made me. I didn't move. I couldn't. Every muscle in my body rebelled, as if stepping toward that mirror meant stepping into a future I couldn't escape from. My heartbeat hammered so loud it felt like the room was pulsing with it.
Her silhouette didn't shift.
Didn't blink. Didn't breathe wrong. She just waited, like she already knew what my body would choose. My voice scraped out, barely sound. I'm not doing this. Her answer came instantly. You already are. A soft hum rose from the floor. The lights above dimmed. Something clicked in the walls, subtle, rhythmic, mechanical. I felt it immediately.
Heat.
A soft warmth crawling over my skin, sliding up my legs, wrapping around my torso. A warmth that didn't belong to the room. It belonged to me. My skin tightened. My balance shifted. My breath caught as a tingling sensation fired up my spine. Delicate, electric, almost pleasant, but terrifying because it wasn't mine to control. My knees locked to keep me standing. Her voice floated forward again, slow and deadly gentle. You've been resisting your reflection for years. Let's see what happens when you finally stop. My breathing broke, short, ragged, uncontrolled. Something tugged my body forward. Not violently.
Not forced.
Just a subtle pull. A suggestion. One step. Then another. My feet moved without my permission, heels clicking softly on the floor like they belonged to someone else. Someone lighter, someone trained, someone who shouldn't exist. I whispered, "Stop, please stop." The silhouette tilted her head. "Why are you begging me?" My chest heaved. "Because you're doing something to me." She laughed, not cruel, but worse than cruel. Like she found me adorable. Predictable.
Correct. No, darling.
Your body is responding to what it wants. My stomach dropped. The pull grew stronger. My hand lifted, an inch, then another, shaking violently as it reached toward the mirror's edge. My fingers brushed the glass. It felt warm, almost alive. The lights brightened. And then, the reflection came into focus. I wanted to scream. I wanted to collapse. I wanted to break the mirror just so I wouldn't have to see it. Because staring back at me wasn't the man I had been that morning. Not even close. It was the version of me she had been shaping. Subtle at first. Then gradually. Then aggressively. A feminized outline. Softer cheeks. Slender neck. Lips slightly fuller than before. Eyes wide and startled, framed by the lashes I swore weren't that long an hour ago. And the worst part,
I didn't look like I was forced into this.
I looked like I belonged in it. My breath shattered. She spoke from behind the curtain. A man doesn't stand like that. My legs shifted, unconsciously adjusting into a delicate inward angle. I tried to correct them, and couldn't. Her shadow moved closer. A man doesn't breathe like that.
I try to steady my breath.
It stayed light, shallow, delicate.
Panic blistered under my skin.
I grabbed at my throat, desperate to feel something familiar, anything. My voice cracked as I tried to speak. It came out softer.
Higher. Wrong.
No, 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 this isn't real. The curtain swayed.
Her silhouette loomed.
Stage 3 is complete. A jolt of cold ran through me. Stage 3? She stepped forward, slow, measured, her heels tapping softly as she finally emerged from behind the curtain. And when I saw her clearly for the first time, my blood froze. She wasn't a stranger. She wasn't a doctor. She wasn't some mystery tormentor. She was Isabella's sister. My mouth went dry. Not because she was terrifying, though she absolutely was, but because her presence made everything make sense in the worst possible way. The confidence, the familiarity, the way she spoke like she already knew my reactions, the way she moved like she had a claim on my body, my mind, my future. Isabella's sister, Sabrina. She looked almost exactly how Isabella always described her. Perfectly styled dark hair, sharp jaw softened by flawless makeup, eyes that looked both intelligent and dangerous at the same time. Except Isabella never mentioned one detail. Sabrina had the smile of someone who enjoyed breaking people open to study what was inside. Why you? My voice trembled in a soft pitch that didn't belong to me. Why would you? Sabrina placed a manicured finger against her lips, silencing me instantly. Even that tiny gesture sent a cold wave down my spine. Her heels clicked closer, deliberate, predatory, like she wanted me to hear every step. You're supposed to be smart, she said lightly. Surely you figured this out. My throat tightened. I haven't figured out anything. Her eyes sparkled. That's the point. She stepped around me, circling slowly, inspecting me like a living doll. A specimen. A project. My reflection looked back at me, soft, fragile, undeniably feminine in all the wrong ways. But Sabrina's expression said something even worse. She wasn't seeing the mistakes. She was seeing the progress. You've always been curious, Sabrina murmured as she circled behind me. Isabella told me everything. The world crashed into silence. Everything? My secret? My clothes? My late-night experimenting? The things I buried so deep even I didn't want to admit them? No, I whispered. No, she wouldn't, she promised. She didn't have a choice. Sabrina's tone sharpened. She was scared. You were pulling away, hiding things, making excuses. I froze. She asked for help, Sabrina continued. She thought you were cheating on her. My heart nearly ruptured. What? I wasn't.
No.
You weren't cheating. Sabrina leaned in, breath brushing my ear. You were becoming something else, and she didn't know how to deal with it. Something cold settled in my stomach. Becoming what? I asked, even though I already knew. Her lips curled. A wife. A tremor ripped through my chest. This isn't, I choked, trying to fight the rising panic. This is your experiment, not my choice. Sabrina moved in front of me, her expression softening as if she pitied me, like I was a scared animal that hadn't realized the cage door had been closed hours ago. Honey, she whispered, thumb brushing my cheek. I flinched. She smirked. You walked into this the moment you let yourself wonder what you'd look like in her clothes. A hot flush burned my face.
Shame. Rage.
Denial.
Need.
Everything mixed into a sickening cocktail. My reflection glowed in the mirror, feminine, exposed, undeniable. And Sabrina watched my reaction with frightening satisfaction. You're not fighting the transformation, she said. You're fighting the truth behind it. I shook my head hard. I'm not becoming a woman. Sabrina blinked, amused. No, she agreed softly. You're becoming ours. The room tipped. Ours. Her smile deepened.
Mine.
Isabella's. The woman we're going to build together. My pulse collapsed into a frantic rhythm. This is insane. Isabella would never agree to this. Sabrina tapped my jaw upward, forcing me to look at my own reflection again. She already did. My breath shattered. And then, she lifted her phone, pressed play. Isabella's voice filled the room, shaky, scared, emotional. If he won't stop hiding himself, then help him become who he's supposed to be. My knees buckled. The floor tilted. The mirror blurred. Sabrina caught my chin between two fingers. Welcome to Stage 4, Husband-to-Wife Adaptation. My heartbeat faltered. Stage 4. Adaptation. The words felt clinical, cold, like I wasn't a person anymore, just a subject being pushed along a path someone else designed. Sabrina watched my reaction carefully, like she wanted to see the exact moment I broke. I'm not doing this, I whispered. You can't force me. Sabrina exhaled slowly, almost disappointed. You still think you have choices. She stepped closer, close enough that I could see every tiny fleck of gold in her irises. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Isabella didn't ask me to force you. She asked me to help you reveal yourself. That's not me. I snapped. This makeup, these clothes, this voice. None of this is me. Sabrina tilted her head. You say that like it's the truth. She reached behind me and brushed a curl of the wig over my shoulder. Even that small movement made my stomach twist. It looked too natural, too familiar, like hair I was meant to have. Look at yourself. She spun me softly toward the mirror. If this wasn't you, why does it fit so well? It doesn't, I insisted, voice breaking. It's foreign.
Wrong.
I feel like I'm watching someone else. No, she tapped the mirror. You're watching the part of you that you've been suffocating. My hands trembled. It isn't real, I whispered, but the reflection stared back at me with eyes I recognized and a face I couldn't deny. Sabrina stepped behind me again, her hands resting lightly on my shoulders. You know what the biggest mistake you made was? She asked softly. You tried to hide who you were from the person who loved you the most. My breath hitched. Isabella loves you, she continued. But she's tired of loving someone who loves himself only halfway. I don't. Yes, you do. Her grip tightened, not painfully, but with enough pressure to make my lungs freeze. You love this. You love becoming softer, smoother,
Smaller.
You love how your body feels in silk, how your lips tremble when they're glossed. I close my eyes, because the worst part, somewhere deep inside, beneath my fear, my denial, my shame, a tiny voice whispered that she wasn't completely wrong, and Sabrina heard that silence. She leaned down, her lips near my ear. Whether you admit it or not, the transformation started long before today. I swallowed hard. This is twisted, I said. This is manipulation. And yet you're still standing here. She moved to my side. Still dressed like this. Still breathing like this. Still wanting an answer to a question you're terrified to ask. What question? Sabrina smiled slowly. What if this is who I was meant to be? My stomach dropped so violently, I nearly doubled over. No, I breathed. No, no, no. Sabrina reached to the table beside us and picked up something small, something silver, delicate, unmistakably feminine. A wedding band, but not mine. Isabella's. I felt the air leave my chest. She told me to show you this, Sabrina said, holding it between her fingers. She wants you to understand what your marriage means now.
Now.
I echoed weakly. Now, Sabrina repeated firmly, when you stop pretending to be just her husband and start becoming her wife. The walls felt like they were closing in. I'm not her wife, I whispered. You're right, Sabrina said. Then she smiled. You're not her wife yet. I took a step back, panic clawing at my ribs. This needs to stop. Isabella needs to tell me this herself. Sabrina's eyes sharpened. She will. My breath caught.
When?
I demanded. When is she coming home? A slow, wicked smile crept across Sabrina's lips. She's been home. My blood went cold. What? Sabrina lifted her chin toward the doorway behind me. Turn around. My entire body locked. My lungs froze. I turned. And there, silhouetted against the hallway, stood Isabella. quiet, expression unreadable, eyes fixed on me, wearing my wedding ring. She whispered one soft sentence that shattered the last piece of my old identity. "You look more like my wife than I ever could." The words hit me like ice water. I stumbled backward, nearly tripping over my own trembling feet. My hands clutched at the silky skirt, at the hem of the blouse, at anything to hold myself together. But it was useless. My reflection in the mirror stared back at me, familiar and alien at the same time. Isabella was standing there, calm, controlled, yet somehow radiating power. The wedding ring glinted on her finger, catching the light like a warning. You can't," I whispered, voice cracking. "You can't do this." I'm still me." Her eyes softened, but the tone was chilling. "I've always loved you," she said quietly. "But I can't love the half that hides in shadows. Not anymore. You have to step fully into this." Step fully into this. The words slashed through me. Every muscle in my body screamed, every instinct fought, and yet something deep inside me obeyed. My body ached for freedom, and yet it obeyed every subtle command embedded in me since Sabrina's stage 3. Sabrina stepped closer, whispering into my ear, "You're already halfway there. Why fight what your body already wants?" I shook violently, head spinning. I don't want this. But my own voice betrayed me. Soft, high, trembling, feminine. Each word came out weaker, smaller. Isabella's gaze bore into mine. "Then why do you look like this?" I swallowed hard. Because I couldn't lie. Not anymore. My fingers brushed the lace at my waist,
The silk of my chest.
Every inch of me felt alive in a way that terrified me. "You're mine now," Isabella whispered, stepping closer. "And the sooner you accept it, the easier it will be." I wanted to scream,
To fight.
to rip the clothes off, to run. But my body refused. Sabrina moved behind me, hands sliding over my shoulders, adjusting the fabric, smoothing it, making me feel exposed and perfectly feminine. "You're ready for the final step," she said, voice soft but absolute. "Are you ready to truly become her?" I froze. My mind screamed no, but my body, it trembled, aching with an unfamiliar desire to obey. Isabella's hand reached for mine. Her touch was electric. Immediate. Irresistible. "Take my hand," she said. "Step in front of the mirror and see the truth." I hesitated. One foot forward. The reflection loomed in the mirror. Silky hair cascading over delicate shoulders. Eyes wide, uncertain, yet undeniably feminine. Lips soft, flushed, waiting for something I couldn't name. Sabrina whispered, "This is the moment you decide. Fight it or accept it." I felt my breath catch. My hands trembled. My knees shook. And slowly, reluctantly, I reached out and took Isabella's hand. The mirror reflected us together, me transformed, standing as the wife I hadn't dared to imagine, and her, calm, possessive, perfect. A shiver ran down my spine, equal parts terror and something darker, something thrilling. Sabrina stepped back, watching. Stage 4 nearly complete. One last choice remains. I realized with horror and a strange, undeniable pull that there was no turning back. One step forward, one glance in the mirror, one touch from Isabella, and the last fragment of the man I used to be shattered. I was no longer just a husband. I was becoming the wife she always wanted. And somehow, somewhere deep inside, part of me already wanted it. The next morning, I woke up with a jolt. For a moment, I forgot everything.
The dress.
The heels. The hair. The humiliating examination Dr. Evelyn had put me through. The treatment plan that somehow included skirts, posture lessons, and hormone patches. But then I sat up. The blanket slid off. And my heart stopped. I wasn't wearing the clothes I fell asleep in. Someone, had changed me into a silky pastel nightgown.
Soft. Cool.
Sleeveless. The straps resting on my shoulders like they belonged there. The fabric clung gently to my waist, swishing around my thighs. I scrambled out of bed. My legs trembled. My balance felt wrong again, feminine again. Like the nightgown wasn't the only thing someone had changed. I rushed to the mirror. My reflection nearly made me fall backward. My face looked even softer than yesterday. My lips were plumper. My eyelashes looked longer, even without mascara. And my hair, it looked fuller, shinier, almost styled. What the hell did she inject me with? I whispered. Because this wasn't just treatment. This wasn't just a feminization protocol. This was accelerated transformation. Someone was fast-forwarding my womanhood. My stomach dropped as I noticed a tiny new adhesive patch on my hip, one I definitely didn't put there. A hormone patch. A stronger one. Oh my God. There was a note on the bedside table. A sleek, white card with Dr. Evelyn's handwriting, elegant, sharp, controlled. I picked it up with shaking fingers. Day 2. Expect rapid progression. You are responding beautifully. Do not remove the nightgown. It allows your chest to adjust properly. Report to the clinic at 10 a.m. for your next evaluation.
E.
Rapid progression? Adjust properly?
No.
No. This isn't real. I should sue. I should run. I should. A knock at the door. 3 slow taps. My blood turned to ice. I opened the door a crack. A nurse stood there. The same nurse who watched me cry yesterday. She smiled sweetly. Too sweetly. Good morning, miss. The doctor sent me to escort you. I froze.
Miss.
She didn't blink. Didn't correct herself. Didn't apologize.
Miss.
Why did you call me that? I asked. She looked me up and down, eyes lingering on the nightgown, my softened features, my trembling legs. And then she said gently, because that's what you look like now. I swallowed hard.
No.
No way. But her eyes weren't teasing. They weren't mocking. They were honest. I took one shaky step toward the mirror again.
Looked.
Really looked. And for the first time, I understood why she said it. My throat tightened. The nurse touched my shoulder. Come along, she whispered. Transformation is always hardest on the second morning. Transformation? She nodded sympathetically. It'll stabilize soon. Stabilize. As if this was supposed to happen. As if this was a normal phase. As if I wasn't losing myself piece by piece. I felt faint. The nurse guided me toward the hallway. And as the door closed behind me, I didn't realize. Dr. Evelyn was already watching from the end of the hall. Waiting. Smiling. Like everything was going exactly the way she wanted. Dr. Evelyn didn't speak at first. She simply watched me walk toward her. Watched me struggle to keep my balance. Watched the nightgown sway around my thighs. Watched my breathing grow shallow with every step. Her eyes tracked every movement like she was studying a patient. But her smile? Her smile looked like she was admiring a project. When I finally reached her, she tilted her head slightly. You're progressing faster than anticipated, she murmured. How? How is that a good thing? I stammered. I didn't agree to this. I gestured helplessly at my soft face, my smooth legs, the feminine outline the nightgown revealed. Dr. Evelyn stepped closer. So close I could smell her fragrance, clean, clinical, expensive, invasive. It's not about agreement, she said quietly. It's about response. Your body is adapting beautifully, almost eagerly. Eagerly? I choked. I'm not. This isn't what I want. Her gaze sharpened. Are you certain? The question punched me. Because she didn't ask it like a doctor. She asked it like someone who already knew the answer and was waiting for me to catch up. I'm sure. I snapped. I want to stop.
Right now.
Whatever you gave me, I want it out of my system. Dr. Evelyn's smile didn't falter. You can't stop it, she said softly. Not anymore. My breath froze. What do you mean I can't stop it? She turned and began walking down the hallway, forcing me to follow. The injections, she said. The patches. The serum. They've already shifted your endocrine system. Your body has accepted the alterations as natural.
But
reversal isn't impossible, she continued. My heart lifted, but it would be excruciating. My heart plummeted. And, she added, you would lose certain new characteristics that your body seems very attached to. Attached to? I didn't choose any of this. She stopped walking.
Stopped dead.
Then slowly, she turned back and looked into my eyes with chilling calm. You walked into my clinic, she said. You signed the trial forms. You asked for a solution. I asked for help with confidence. I protested. Not womanhood. She arched one brow. Confidence is often found when one becomes the version of themselves they were always meant to be.
A chill crawled through my spine.
No, I whispered. No, this isn't me. But the way she stepped closer, the way her hand lifted to gently tilt my chin upward, the way her eyes softened as if she saw something meaningful in me, it made me feel cornered in a way I couldn't explain. You're beautiful, she whispered. And your body knows it. I shivered. I wanted to pull away, but I didn't.
Why didn't I?
Dr. Evelyn released my chin and began walking again.
Come.
We need to monitor your chest development. My what? She didn't look back. And that terrified me more than anything, because it meant she wasn't joking. She meant every word. And when we reached the exam room, I realized something that made my knees weaken. There were already new bras laid out for me. Multiple sizes. As if she expected growth. As if she was preparing for it. My voice shook. Dr. Evelyn, what's happening to me? She closed the door, locked it, then turned toward me with a slow, deliberate smile. Your transformation, she said, is entering stage 2. My heart slammed against my ribs. Stage 2? How many stages were there? And why did something inside me, deep, buried, shameful, fear the answer, yet crave it at the same time? Stage 2. The words wouldn't leave my mind. They echoed through me like a threat or a prophecy. Dr. Evelyn moved around the room with practiced grace, her heels clicking softly, her expression unreadable. She picked up a tablet, then pointed at the exam chair. Sit. The command was calm, but firm enough to make my pulse spike. I sat.
Slowly. Awkwardly.
The nightgown slid up my thighs as I lowered myself, and I fought the urge to yank it back down. Every movement reminded me how foreign my body was beginning to feel. Dr. Evelyn noticed. Of course she noticed. Self-consciousness is normal during this phase, she said. Your proprioception is shifting. Your mind is learning a different way of existing. Existing? I repeated. I'm not switching species. I'm just. I couldn't even finish the sentence. What was I now? Dr. Evelyn tapped her tablet. Raise your arms. I froze.
No.
Her eyes lifted. Would you like this monitored medically or emotionally? That confused me. What does that even mean? She stepped closer, her presence overwhelming, her voice sinking into something softer. It means, she murmured, that I can treat you like a patient, or like someone going through a very personal metamorphosis. Her tone wrapped around me like velvet. It shouldn't have affected me, but it did. My arms lifted before my mind even agreed. She smiled faintly, almost approvingly, and peeled the nightgown gently off my shoulders. My breath caught, because beneath it, beneath me, the changes were not subtle anymore. My collarbones looked finer, my chest softer. Slight swelling, just a hint, but enough to make my stomach twist. This isn't real, I whispered. This can't be happening this fast. Your biology is responsive, she said. Highly. Her fingers traced a line along my upper chest. I flinched. Her touch was warm. Too warm. You're reacting beautifully, she murmured. Stop saying that, I snapped, though my voice broke. I'm not a project. You're right, she said, meeting my eyes. You're a becoming. I didn't understand what that meant. But the worst part? Some part of me did. She picked up a small scanner and glided it across my upper torso. Soft beeps filled the air. Then she looked at the reading and exhaled, impressed. Oh, you're ahead of schedule. Ahead? Ahead of what? My pulse hammered. What schedule? How many stages are there? Why wasn't I told? She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she set down the scanner, walked behind me, and placed both hands on my shoulders. Her thumbs began a slow, steady massage, calm, grounding, terrifyingly gentle. You came to me broken, she said softly. You asked for confidence, for help, for a new start. I'm giving you all three. Not like this, I whispered. Her lips brushed close to my ear. Exactly like this. A shudder raced through me, not from fear, not from anger, but from something far more dangerous. Recognition. Like some part of me had been waiting to hear those words. She moved to the counter and returned with a small glass vial filled with a shimmering pinkish liquid. I stared at it. A chill wrapped around me. No, I said immediately. No more injections. I'm already changing. I can feel it. I don't want anything else. This isn't an injection, she said calmly. She held the vial to the light, and the liquid glowed faintly, like it was alive. It's an accelerant, she said. Optional. Optional. That single word hit me harder than anything else. If I take this, I whispered, what happens? Her expression softened. You stop fighting yourself. My chest tightened. And if I don't? She stepped closer, her eyes meeting mine with slow, deliberate intensity. Then you will still change, she said, but it will be harder. It will hurt. Your body is already resisting itself. This would ease the conflict. My throat went dry. So, either way, I transform. Yes, she said simply. But this decides how. The vial glimmered in her hand like temptation itself. My voice trembled. Why are you giving me a choice now? She leaned in, her breath warm against my cheek. Because, she whispered, this part works best when you accept it. My heart slammed against my ribs. She placed the vial in my hand. It was warm, too warm, like it was pulsing with its own heartbeat. My fingers curled around it involuntarily. I stared at the liquid, at my shaking hands, at the woman who turned my life into a nightmare, or a rebirth. My voice was barely a breath. What happens if I drink it? She smiled. You blossom. The vial was small enough to disappear inside my fist, yet somehow it felt heavier than my entire life. Blossom. That word clung to me like perfume, sweet, intoxicating, suffocating. Dr. Evelyn watched me with a stillness that made my skin crawl. Not predatory, but expectant. Like she already knew what choice I would make. I didn't. My hand shook so violently the liquid inside rippled. I shouldn't be doing this, I whispered. I know, she replied. You also shouldn't be changing this fast, but here you are. My stomach twisted.
She was right.
Something inside me was shifting. My emotions too close to the surface, my skin too sensitive, my sense of self cracking like old paint. Even breathing felt different. My voice came out rough. Tell me everything. No more half-truths. What is this supposed to make me? Her gaze softened, not with pity, but with something disturbingly close to admiration. It makes you yourself, she said, without the fear. I laughed, a hollow, shaking thing. Myself? I'm a man who shouldn't be. But the words fell apart in my mouth. Because even saying man felt uncertain. It echoed wrong in my chest. Dr. Evelyn reached out and gently touched my chin, lifting it. Do you want to know what I see when I look at you? I didn't want to.
I needed to.
What? A woman, she breathed. A frightened, half-formed woman who's desperate to exist, but terrified of what she'll lose. My pulse spiked.
No.
No, I'm not. I don't want. But she cut me off with a single look. Then why haven't you put the vial down? I froze. Because she was right. My fingers clutched the vial like it belonged to me. Like I was afraid she might take it back. A war raged inside me, familiar, violent, exhausting. Part of me screamed to throw it across the room. Another part whispered, drink it. End the confusion. Become something whole. I hated that part. I also feared it was the real me. Dr. Evelyn stepped behind me again. Her hands slid slowly down my arms, guiding them up. The nightgown slipped lower, revealing the emerging curves on my chest, soft, tender, impossible. I gasped at my reflection in the glass cabinet. Not because I looked feminine, but because I looked unfinished. Like a sculpture halfway carved. I didn't recognize myself. Yet I couldn't look away. Her voice came from just behind my ear. You're caught between two lives. Every moment you resist makes the transition harder. I didn't choose a transition, I whispered. You chose to come to me, she said. And that was the beginning. Her fingers gently pried open my hand, lifting the vial to eye level. The liquid shimmered again, pink, gold, something alive. I spoke without thinking. If I drink this, will I stop being him? A long silence. Then, you will become her. The word her cut through me like lightning, terrifying, thrilling, wrong, right? All at once. My chest tightened like someone squeezed my ribs from inside. What if I don't want her? I choked. Evelyn leaned in, lips almost brushing the curve of my ear. She already wants you. A tremor ran through me, deep, involuntary. She's been waiting, she continued softly, scratching at your insides, leaving clues in your dreams, begging for more every time you touched softness and wondered what it would be like to be seen. My breath stuttered. How do you know that? Because I've seen hundreds like you. She moved to stand in front of me again, her face close, her eyes burning with certainty. Men who swore they weren't crossing over. Men who insisted they didn't want this. Men who trembled exactly like you when they realized the truth. My voice cracked. What truth? That it's not about clothes. Not about makeup. Not about pretending. Her hand slid over my chest, slow, deliberate, claiming, it's about who your body and soul choose to be when you stop fighting. The vial glowed brighter. Or maybe my vision blurred. Or maybe something inside me woke up. My throat tightened painfully. I'm scared, I whispered. You should be, she replied, touching my cheek. Becoming yourself is always frightening. Her thumb traced my lips, and I froze. Drink it when you're ready, she said. Not for me. For you. She stepped back, finally giving me space to choose. My hand lifted the vial on its own. I breathed once.
Twice.
My heart threatening to burst. And then, I tilted it. The first drop hit my tongue. Warm,
sweet,
electric. And something inside my chest opened. The second the last drop of blossom hit my tongue, the world shifted. Not violently, not painfully, but with a slow, inevitable unraveling, like a zipper being pulled open along my spine. A warmth bloomed inside my chest. Deep, molten, expanding. So powerful I had to grab the counter to stay upright. My pulse hammered in my ears. My skin tingled like thousands of tiny sparks were dancing under it. Not burning. Awakening. Evelyn stepped closer, her voice gentle but firm. It's starting. I didn't know whether to scream or cry or collapse. What's happening to me? I gasped. Her eyes never left my face. You made your choice. I stumbled back, heart racing, hands trembling as they pressed over my chest. And that's when I felt it. Not a fantasy. Not imagination. Not the subtle changes from earlier. This was real. My skin softened instantly under my palms, tender and warm and not mine. My waist tightened. My posture shifted. I felt my body rewriting itself with every heartbeat. A small, terrified sob escaped me. I can't stop it. You don't want to stop it, Evelyn said softly. Listen to your breathing. Feel your heartbeat. It's syncing with who you truly are. No, this is too fast. It's exactly the speed you needed. My legs trembled violently. I grabbed the edge of the bed, collapsing onto it as another wave hit me. Warmth rolling from my stomach to my hips, reshaping bone, pulling me inward. I cried out, gripping the sheets. I'm losing myself. Evelyn knelt in front of me, calm as ever.
No.
You're becoming yourself. The version you've buried for years. Tears blurred my vision. But what about Isabella? She never asked for this. She never wanted. Evelyn's hand closed gently around mine. She'll want you, she said softly. Or she won't. That part is uncertain. Her honesty cut deeper than a lie ever could. My voice shook. What if she hates me? Then you will grieve, Evelyn whispered. but you will not go back. A cold dread spread through my chest.
She was right.
Even if Isabella walked out the door forever, even if I lost everything, there was no undoing this. Because I didn't want it undone. My breath hitched as another pulse surged through my body. Hips widening, chest tightening, throat softening. A voice escaped me. Lighter, breathier, undeniably feminine. No, no, that's not my voice. But the panic wasn't real panic anymore. It was shock wrapped in something dangerously close to relief. Evelyn watched every second of it with quiet awe. You were never afraid of becoming her, she said. You were only afraid someone would notice. Another tremor ran through me. My hair brushed my shoulders. My reflection, flickering in the darkened window across the room, looked like a stranger.
And
Someone I had been chasing my whole life. At the same time, a soft, broken whisper left me. I look like a woman. You are a woman now. Her words landed with the weight of a verdict. I swallowed hard, staring at my trembling hands. Smaller now, slender, delicate. This is too real, I breathed. And it's only the beginning, Evelyn replied. My heart clenched. What happens next? She smiled, gentle, almost proud. Next you tell Isabella. A cold shock raced down my spine. I can't. She'll leave. She'll freak out. You can't hide forever, Evelyn said. And Blossom only completes its final stage when your new identity is acknowledged by someone you love. My stomach dropped. Final stage. What does that mean? Before she could answer, the apartment door clicked. My blood froze.
no.
No. Evelyn's face went completely still. That's her, she whispered. Footsteps.
Keys dropped.
A soft sigh. Isabella was home. My heart slammed into my ribs. This was it. No time to hide. No time to explain. No time to undo anything. The bedroom door creaked open, and Isabella stood there. Her eyes swept the room, then landed on me. Shock.
Confusion. Fear.
Recognition. All at once. Her lips parted slowly, trembling. Who are you? My body locked. Evelyn didn't move. I tried to speak, to explain, to apologize, to beg, but my new voice caught in my throat. Isabella took one step back. Then another. No, she whispered.
No.
This can't be.
My heart shattered.
Isabella. I finally managed, my voice soft, unfamiliar, undeniably feminine. It's me. Her face drained of color. She stared at me like she was seeing a ghost. Or worse, someone she didn't know at all. The silence stretched, suffocating, ripping me apart from the inside. And then, she whispered the last thing I expected. Why didn't you tell me? Her voice cracked. Why did you do this alone? A tear slipped down her cheek. I froze. Was she angry? Was she heartbroken? Was she accepting? I didn't know. I still don't. Because before I could answer, the story ends. Right there. Right on the edge of everything that could break or heal. Her breath hitched. My heart pounded. And the screen would fade to black as the narrator says. What happens next, only you can predict.